What happens here tonight, speaking of offense, Spurrier's got Blake Mitchell, a quarterback, with one career touchdown pass, but his opponent contains a roster at UCF. Very few guys have ever been part of beating a BCS conference team. So how do you expect this to unfold?
Well, I think South Carolina wins this game quite easily. I think they're a better team than Coach Spurrier's letting on. I think they're very good defensively. I like South Carolina easy.
I think South Carolina wins this game big. I don't think it's going to be close. Steve Spurrier's not going to win a close football game. They're going to be throwing the ball up and down the field.
I'm going with South Carolina, but closer than the experts think. Give me that thing right here.
Closer than the experts.
Yes, sir. I'm going closer than the experts think.
All right, so a qualified endorsement from Corso. What's that first offensive play going to be for Spurrier? We can't wait to see it. Let's go to Mike Tirico and Kirk Herbstreit in the booth. Guys.
Chris, thank you. Steve Spurrier, the straw that stirs the SEC, is back, adding enthusiasm to the bedlam that is South Carolina football. No better setting to welcome you back on campus. Let's kick off 2005 college football.
We're in this together. The passage of time. The repeating patterns. The changes. And together, we celebrate the promise of hope a new season brings. By honoring traditions, respecting leaders, remembering champions. A ritual hard to resist or replace. It brought a legend back. Steve Spurrier returns to the SEC. This rite of autumn offers redemption for past misdeeds. George O'Leary remains on course at Central Florida, while we raise our voices for a game that brings us and keeps us together through the years. The circle is unbroken, fall is here, and so is college football.
Presented by Cooper Tires. Our season full of Thursdays begin where football is king. In the SEC, South Carolina hosting Central Florida, making its Conference USA debut. Good evening and welcome to the start of our 27th college football season here on ESPN. Mike Tirico along with Kirk Herbstreit. Great to be back for year 7 together, bud.
Yeah, it is. It's great to see college football back.
This is going to be fun. Well, you know, Kirk, sports is about the players. You have great players, you have a great team usually. When a coach comes back, it usually doesn't make that big impact, but I think Bill Parcells coming back to the NFL got our attention. Then, of course, the return of Phil Jackson in the NBA. Same kind of feel with Steve Spurrier returning to college football. How good is this team this year?
Well, everybody wonders how long will it take Steve Spurrier to win. The other thing is, you always think of Steve Spurrier, you think of offense. I'm here to tell you that this team can win this year because of the play on the other side of the football. South Carolina has speed all over the field. Starting tonight, you'll see a South Carolina defense that will keep them in the majority of the games they play. But the offense of Steve Spurrier will begin to see tonight is Blake Mitchell and Antonio Hefner, his quarterbacks, ready to learn this complex scheme.
Well, the fans are ready to follow life of Steve Spurrier and see the excited offense. And into this cauldron steps Central Florida. They didn't win a game last year. They haven't won 15 games in a row, the longest losing streak in the country. And everybody thinks they are the sacrificial lamb here tonight. When we sat down with George O'Leary, a good crafty old veteran coach, I have the feeling there's some lying in that sacrificial lamb. They're not that bad.
No, they're not. And I think you look at the losing streak, 15 straight, 0-11 last year, you think, oh, they're in trouble tonight. George O'Leary as a head coach is enough of a reason to give his team a chance tonight. If they can have some success early and take this crowd out early, they can make it a football game, especially his quarterback, Stephen Moffitt.
The crowd?
Yeah, the
crowd here?
About to go crazy, by the way.
80,000 people. They've sold this place out for the last 6 years in a row. They sold the place out when the team was 0-11. They have one of the most unique, anticipated entries to the field in all of college football. To the trains of 2001, A Space Odyssey, begins 2005, The Spurrier Odyssey. 2005 season. South Carolina, Central Florida. Don't go too far. We kick it off on a Thursday night in 60 seconds.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Applebee's Neighborhood Grill and Bar. Eating good in the neighborhood. Applebee's. And Aflac. Ask about it at work. ESPN welcomes you back on campus. Presented by State Farm.
Warm, late summer evening here in Columbia, South Carolina, the capital of the Palmetto State. Temperature of the 90s during the day. It is actually less humid than it has been. Central Florida, obviously down in Orlando, will not be drastically affected by the heat. Same true for South Carolina. Steve Spurrier, 60 years old, has the energy, the youth, the excitement of a 50-year-old. Re-energized after those 2 years in Washington. He downplays it, but he's got to have goosebumps this moment back for him. And on the opposite side, George O'Leary, who's been around the block several times as well. Former Georgia Tech coach. A couple years in the NFL, second season at UCF. His Golden Knights out of Orlando won the toss, defer the option to the second half. So South Carolina will get it first. Matt Prater set to kick it off. UCF in white, the Gamecocks in the garnet and black. Sellout crowd of 80,000 ready to go with them. Right here, the officials stopping the game momentarily before we get going. Point out that we will have replay in this game for the first time in the SEC in most of the conferences in college football this year. Prater is ready, and off we go with College Football 2005. To the 23-yard line for Savell Newton. We are thrilled to be joined on our Thursday night team by Erin Andrews. Welcome, Erin.
Well, Mike, thanks so much. Ever since Steve Spurrier became the head coach here at South Carolina, everybody's been asking the question, why? Why the Gamecocks? Well, he told us the other day it's because he wanted a challenge. He wanted to come to the SEC. He wanted to be back in college football. He actually used in his press conference a slogan from the World Series Red Sox, why not us? And guys, this crowd, this hometown is echoing that. Why not us? Why not South Carolina?
Well, the first carry taken by the first signee of the Steve Spurrier era, freshman Bobby Wallace, only a yard. The quarterback is Blake Fisher. He's a sophomore from LaGrange, Georgia, about 70 miles away from Atlanta. This is a kid who said, hey, I'm in the Steve Spurrier offense. I'm not going to hang with my buddies down in Florida this summer. I'm going to go back home and throw and put my head in the playbook and learn how to be a quarterback. He was named the starter the first week of summer camp. Pick up at 1, second and 9. Here's Mitchell's first throw. It's complete. It's down to the 37 to the man who was the starting quarterback last year, Savell Newton. Out of Wallace, South Carolina. Game for 12 Bud Light starting lineups. South Carolina keeps with the line. Newton was the quarterback, very productive, young in the backfield. Newton will have to be a very important man. Chris Clark and Andy Boyd, the other pass catcher. Up front, Jabari Levy, the left tackle, with Brown, White, Antonio, and Nashawn Goddard. The two tackles have NFL potential. That's the strength of the line. First and 10, they run with Wallace, and the freshman's brought down after a gain of a yard. Leke Duzaba comes up with the tackle. Leke joins Chris Welsh, Frisner Nelson, and the best defensive lineman, Paul Carrington, a very intelligent player out of Georgia up front. The linebackers, Corey Hogue, a true freshman playing with Ronell Sandy and James Cook. And in the back line, man will be tested right at the top, Janelle Neal. Redshirt freshman, first start, young man out of Baton Rouge, with Parks, Rashad, and Ellis across the secondary. On second down, the throw by Mitchell. Caught by Newton across midfield. First down, the pick up the 13. That is right in front of the man we just mentioned, Janelle Neal.
The first couple throws by Mitchell, you can tell he's in rhythm. It's something that as a quarterback running this scheme for Steve Spurrier, You have to be able to have the rhythm because the timing between the quarterback and the wide receiver is essential. Steve Spurrier builds his offense around a quarterback being in rhythm with his wide receivers. Both these throws we've seen from Mitchell right on cue.
Good opening drive from Central Florida territory. Loading up deep downfield for Noah Whiteside. Touchdown! Spurrier in South Carolina.
I guess Steve Spurrier era has begun.
I think they like the offense here, too, by the way. Josh Brown, senior, on for the extra point. Hasn't missed one in his career out of the hold of Ike Crowfoot. 5 plays, 76 yards, 49 yards. The touchdown pass thrown by Mitchell.
How many times have we seen Steve Spurrier's quarterbacks have an opportunity to get in rhythm early, bait the defense, and then go downfield for a big touchdown early?
Hello, congratulations for Noah Whiteside, who injured his ankle severely in the spring game. South Carolina has returned, comes back with a touchdown, the opening drive in 5 plays. South Carolina on the board, 7-0. 5-play drive. First drive of Florida, Steve Spurrier era. 5-play drive and a touchdown.
Well, he told us yesterday that this South Carolina opportunity reminded him a lot of when he first got to Gainesville, but I didn't know he meant it this much. 5 plays in Gainesville, 5 plays in Columbia.
Ryan Succa, the freshman, his first collegiate kick is a line drive, thus very returnable for Jason Peters. And the University of Central Florida junior takes it out to the 30. Terrell Davis, unrelated to that Terrell Davis, made the tackle.
This is great recognition by Steve Spurrier. His first 2 throws by Mitchell, he was reading the defenses. He's going to get an opportunity to go deep to the post, and you're going to see a defense that right now is a little bit confused. Right here, the safety bites up, and when he bites up, that frees Noah Whiteside up to the post, and Blake Mitchell puts it right on the money, just like he's been doing all summer in practice for a touchdown to Whiteside.
Central Florida in desperate need of confidence. Has to get it with the offense, and junior quarterback Stephen Moffitt from the 30. No room to run for junior Dontavius Wilcox. Stopped by this aggressive and new South Carolina defense. Well, Moffitt started 3 games as a true freshman in 2003, 8 starts last year, really has jumped over the fence, understands what is needed to be a quarterback for George O'Leary on and off the field. And as UCF enters a new era in Conference USA and tries to erase last year's 0-11 season, O'Leary's confident that Moffitt, the junior from the Orlando suburb of Winter Park, could do the job. No gain, 2nd and 10. South Carolina trying to confuse. A quick hitting run by the junior Wilcox out of Rockledge, Florida. Pickup of 7. Brandon Isaac made the tackle. The UCF offense behind the quarterback Moffitt includes Wilcox. We'll see a true freshman in there as well later on. And Jason Peters, a big back. Brandon Marshall we highlight with Walker and Johnson as the pass catchers. Marshall played safety last year. Gave up a season for the team, essentially. They had 3 freshman starters last year. So Veenstra, Smith, Gagne, Marcoux, Gahuli, and Sitton have experience. They hope to not allow as many sacks as Central Florida did last year. 44 in all. 3rd and 3 throw is caught by Darcy Johnson with a tight end to stop. A half-yard shy of the first down. Freshman of the year defensively in the SEC. Bo Simpson stops it. 4th and short. Probably kill.
Let me tell you why that is such a big stop by Bo Simpson. It's not just stopping and forcing a punt by UCF. You're talking about a football team that hasn't won a game yet for George O'Leary. 5 plays in, they give up a touchdown in a new season and a new start. And now they go 3 and out in the first series, and they're on the road. This is what we talked about. They had to start off with some success to get themselves to believe.
Aaron Horn is the punter. Nice kick driving Jonathan Joseph to the sideline. Unreturnable. no return. So Simpson and the South Carolina defense, which also is brand new and aggressive, much like the South Carolina offense, and will develop that as the night goes on. They get the ball back for Steve Spurrier's team. Well, if you are a fan of the SEC, for that matter, a fan of college football, you know the impact that Steve Spurrier had when he returned to his alma mater in 1990. 122 wins, 12 seasons to accomplish that. 9 finishes in the top 10. Florida teams just became a team you wanted to watch. They were exciting, they were fun, and that's why there's so much enthusiasm here. The toss to Newton is stopped behind the line of scrimmage. A good play coming off the defensive front by James Cook, the linebacker out of Jacksonville, who's got the most experience on this UCF squad. Let me just get something straight here. They are Central Florida. A lot of you know them as that. The school, as they remake their image, would like to be known as UCF. So we'll try to reference him as that as much as we can as the night goes on.
In beautiful downtown Orlando.
Thank you, LC.
Right.
Get that in for Coach Corso. Loss of 1, 2nd and 11. And the run up the middle. The 2 freshman backs, Wallace and Davis, will both see action. And it's Davis, the freshman out of Columbia here, taking it out to the 24-yard line.
I think the skill position players in South Carolina, as we see not only tonight but throughout the season, can surprise some people. I mean, they don't have the household names in the SEC, but you do have Savell Newton coming back, Chris Clark, Noah Whiteside, and then these freshman running backs. There is skill there. It's just in many cases inexperienced.
3rd and 7. We'll see if Central Florida can get South Carolina off the field. Deep drop by Mitchell. Davis makes it happen after the catch. First down to the 34-yard line. Yards after catch, always important for this offense, and Davis got it done there.
You got to forgive me for getting so excited about a simple dump down. But Blake Mitchell, as a young quarterback, one of the things that sometimes you get caught up in running Steve Spurrier's offense early is trying to get the ball downfield. This is something that Coach Spurrier worked hard with all his quarterbacks this summer, is not to be afraid, even on 3rd down, to dump it down to the back and let him run for a first down. That's a great example right there.
Bernard Stafford is the fullback, and we get our first flag of the night. Thomas Ritter is the referee here this evening.
Prior to the snap, false start, number 70, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Everybody wanted to know, does Steve Spurrier have a quarterback to run his system? And we're just getting started in the 05 season, and Blake Mitchell looks like he's prepped. Looks like he's had a pretty good summer so far, 5 of 5 for 83. More importantly, the poise that he's showing right now is the thing that I'm seeing from up here.
1st and 15, they try to line him up a screen. Davis doesn't have many bodies to deal with. Davis off to the races. They've got an angle on him, but he has speed. Davis takes it to the 5. How about Fran Person blocking downfield to lead the way? Neal helped save the touchdown. 65 on the game.
George O'Leary's worst nightmare is happening right now because the quarterback, Blake Mitchell, is getting rhythm and getting more and more confident. Screen set up here perfectly to Mike Davis, a true freshman, the top running back in the state of South Carolina last year, showing some speed, getting downfield. And if it weren't for the angle, he gets all the way into the end zone. Great blocking downfield. Savell Newton showing some dedication, and that's big. A receiver willing to block downfield like that. Nice play for South Carolina. And again, the quarterback very, very calm right now, controlling this offense.
Having some difficulty getting the ball spotted properly, and something was on the field, so the official stopped the game for a second. That's what was on the field. A shoe.
That'll do it.
Somebody threw a shoe throwing their blocks. Worst possible scenario for UCF, best for USC. First and goal, Davis took it down there. Time he is met by that defensive front of UCF, Ronell Sandy, Frisner Nelson made on the tackle. Nelson, a senior out of Fort Myers. One of very few seniors on this team. Although they took a lot of lumps and got experience in the 0-11 season last year, this is still a very young team. That's why such a fragile psyche coming in here early in the first quarter. Two men in motion at the same time. Either Newton or Chris Clark made a mistake, and that'll cost them foul.
The old ball coach doesn't. Everything's going very nice and smoothly. He gets into the red zone and
Prior to the snap, false start. Number 70, offense, 5-yard penalty, remains second left.
I'm sorry, 70 may have moved, but two receivers in motion at the same time.
Yeah. Couple fouls. But Blake Mitchell, the reason I guess I'm so excited about this start for him is everybody wondered, what kind of quarterback is Steve Spurrier? Who's going to run his system? How's he going to do? And I think learning how to deal with adversity throughout this year will tell you what kind of year Blake Mitchell's going to have.
On second and goal, underneath the tight end, Andy Boyd. Touchdown, South Carolina. Spread of the pass completions as well. We had the running back on the screen against the pressure. Two passes to Newton. The downfield touchdown toss to Whiteside. And now Boyd, the tight end, with the score.
Teams a lot of times talk about balance within the offense, and no more is it always the run against the throw. Sometimes it's just spreading the wealth among the receivers, and that's what South Carolina's been able to do here.
Andy Boyd, out of Concord, North Carolina, in his career, 2 catches, 2 touchdowns. Ole Miss last year, UCF to start the season. South Carolina up 14.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Cooper Tires Ultimate Bowl Tour. Go to a Cooper dealer near you or visit ultimatebowltour.com to enter. And State Farm. It's no accident State Farm insures more cars than anyone else.
11 plays, 14 points for South Carolina, leading Central Florida 14-0. Perfection thus far for Blake Mitchell out of LaGrange, Georgia. Can't start better than that.
Not bad, Blake. Not a bad start.
I mentioned Boyd, 2 catches in his career, 2 touchdowns. And I get the feeling he might be seeing a few more catches as this year goes on. Kicked away by Suckup, and no return. Very strong-legged kicker is Ryan Suckup, the true freshman.
Not just a big play here, but this is something that Steve Spurrier will try to do throughout the SEC. Is he's going to have a simple little pick play. Boyd is on the backside. He's going to come around off the pick and find himself wide open in the end zone. But Chris Clark, the small wide receiver, the man who they say is Mr. Reliable, just enough of a chip. But also, I think, a mental mistake there by the outside linebacker not getting over. But Steve Spurrier very innovative when he gets into the red zone with his passing game.
True freshman Kevin Smith out of Southridge High School in Miami on a college football field for the first time as the running back. Moffitt throws incomplete. Pass intended for Brandon Marshall. We send it back to the studio for an update. And here's Matt Weiner.
Mike Kirk, Oregon on the road to start the season at Houston, and Cougar quarterback Kevin Cobb is having a field day with the Ducks secondary. Finds Anthony Ulrich behind the secondary there, 62 yards. Second bomb for a score this game. The Cougars lead it.
Matty will keep us updated on those games out on ESPN2 right now. I thought Oregon was the second best team in the Pac-10.
I know one guy up here thinks that.
Second and 10 for Moffitt. Good throw, hauled in by his best receiver. Brandon Marshall, the senior out of Winter Park, takes it to the 41-yard line against the new-look South Carolina defense. Introduce you to the guys and then tell you what the scheme is. DeAdrian Colley along with Paul, Tucker, and Johnson up front. Lance Laurie, Ricardo Hurley, and they're excited about Mike West from Ocala. He plays a little hybrid linebacker DB. That's becoming a vogue position with all these spread offenses. Jonathan Joseph on the corner. You already saw Coach Simpson's impact. Brandon Isaac and Fred Bennett back there with him. After the first UCF first down of the night, here comes the true freshman Smith. His first carry gains him about 2 or 3 yards to the 43-yard line.
You talked about how much movement. We're going to talk about this throughout the game. With a defense like South Carolina, they're going to move a lot. UCF believes the check with me system. Their quarterback, Moffitt, almost every snap will look into the defense, try to evaluate what he's seeing, and make the proper check, whether it's a run to run or run to a pass or pass to pass. He's looking into the defense constantly, and that's why South Carolina is going to try to move around as much as they can to confuse them. There's another check at the line for Moffitt.
Second down, quick toss. Mike Walker, his other starting receiver. Good yards after the catch for a first down. Brandon Isaac brings him down in South Carolina territory.
One of the ways to counter that is go with a quick count. And we've already seen Moffitt doing that to try to stop the defense from moving. Moffitt, it's very important for him. Last year, he fought like crazy to build some continuity within the offense when they struggled. He was fighting for his job. He had a great offseason. He's gotten the blessing from George O'Leary, and they're trying to build his confidence up. And getting down 14 early, now he's got a big hill to climb in game one.
Room to run for Moffitt. He will tuck it, take it, and get out of bounds right around the first down line. They're at the 36-yard line. Let's peek into the Under Armour advantage tonight on both sides. That's a little bit of what you talked about, the experience of George O'Leary here tonight when things have gone bad early.
Well, when you're going down too deep on both sides looking for an Under Armour advantage, you come up with George O'Leary and his experience and what he demands from a football team. For South Carolina, I think people will be pleasantly surprised the job that Lou Holtz did throughout the years of recruiting, the athletic ability that's on this field tonight from South Carolina, and then the momentum. Opening night, Steve Spurrier is the head coach. Everybody's excited. And, of course, the couple of quick scores early. It's going to be tough for UCF to counter.
As they measure here on this first down run, and it is yardage sufficient for the Moffitt first down. You talk about the people that were left, the best athletes, on the defensive side of the ball, and it is a new look defense because, as you know with Steve Spurrier, hey, you go over there and coach defense, good luck, I'll see you at the scrimmage, and then we'll see what happens game day. I may ask you to get the ball back for me. He really gives you hands-free defensive coordinator.
And over the years, defensive coordinators for him have thrived on that, and some have struggled.
This down run, I like this back. And Smith lowers the shoulder, takes it to the 21-yard line. And right now, coach may be saying, guys, can we get the ball back, please?
Right now, South Carolina, a little bit of confusion from South Carolina. Some players, the outside linebacker here, Mike West, getting a little bit lost. A nice bump to the outside there by the freshman Smith, showing some acceleration and toughness getting outfield. But South Carolina's defense on their heels for the first time in this game.
Here's play 7 of a drive that's taken it 60 yards, knocking on the red zone of the Gamecocks. Kevin Smith. A couple of yards there. Inside the 20 to the 17. Jordan Lindsay made the tackle. He's from Mobile, Alabama. As you know, the Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi area devastated. Jordan Lindsay and Dustin Lindsay from Mobile, twins on this team, have contacted their parents. Their parents are doing okay after Hurricane Katrina. There are other stories to be told. One you may have heard on College Game Day earlier regarding one of the UCF receivers, and later on, Aaron will bring us that story. Second and 8 for Moffitt. Has to make a good decision down here. Hit hard as he's taken down after a gain of a couple of yards. Cody Wells, who plays one of the other hybrid positions on this defense, and it's a defense that's coordinated by John Thompson, who was the East Carolina head coach, has been an SEC defensive coordinator, Florida, Arkansas, and LSU, and the man right to his left, Tyrone Nix, who was at Southern Mississippi as defensive coordinator. They work together, and they work very well together. We'll detail that as the night goes on. There's Tyrone, very left part of your screen at the end of that shot. 3rd and 7. Moffitt ran out of time, and he's brought down, losing a couple of yards. Somebody will get credit for the sack, but they should share it with the secondary for coverage.
Great coverage downfield. This time looking for Mike Walker coming across the field into the end zone. Protection was pretty good. This is an offensive line last year. They gave up 50 sacks. So this year they're playing with a little bit more confidence against a pretty athletic front. But eventually they caved in. Moffitt there, either throw it away or take a sack. At least he didn't try to force it into that defense and turn the football over. Now they have a chance at least to get some points here.
37-yarder for Matt Prater, who struggled from this distance last year. Hooking that one in and puts UCF on the board. The field goal for Prater. 14 Murray.
Carolina 14, UCF 3.
ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, ABC, ESPN Regional. 31 games. That'll get you back on campus. How about the double dip Saturday here on ESPN? Boise State against Georgia, and Georgia Tech down to the Plains to take on Auburn, the team that didn't lose at all last year and lost its whole starting backfield. Two great games back on campus presented by State Farm Saturday on ESPN.
Last time we saw Jared Zabransky and Boise State, they were fighting like crazy against Louisville. That'd be a great game.
They just scored, man. So Prater kicks it off, the big hit on the return by Wallace. Special teams tackled by Glenroy Watkins for UCF. Down to Aaron Andrews.
Well, Mike, in speaking with some of the UCF players the past couple of days, seniors and leaders of this team like Paul Carrington and Frisner Nelson told us early in the summer they got the team together, no coaches, no media allowed, and they said, guys, we're forgetting about the 0-11 season. We're not going to dwell on it. We're done talking about it. Finished. We're starting new. During the last drive, Paul Carrington walking up and down the sideline saying, guys, we've got time. We're fine. Don't worry about it. He is one of these seniors. George O'Leary did tell us that he needs to help out his squad this year.
And as you said, Aaron, that attitude can be very important. They need good things to happen for them. And right there's a perfect example, Kirk. They were offside on that kickoff. So the big hit starting South Carolina back inside its 20 is erased by a silly mistake.
Well, you just touched on, it's a promo. There are going to be 31 games on our air. And one thing you're going to see some teams, they're going to have the fundamentals of the game down. You're going to see other teams that are going to struggle with that aspect. Remember, two-a-days these last 3 years have been cut back. Sometimes you try to divvy up time in practice, and it becomes difficult. And whoever has the best camp are going to be the teams this opening weekend you're going to see that look the most crisp about going out and executing and doing the little things right.
Especially this phase of the game, Bud. You know, all these fans going to crowd stadiums all over the country and get frustrated. Didn't you work on special teams? Well, especially South Carolina, you're installing a new offense, a new defense. You got to find the time for special teams. George O'Leary finally has enough bodies to run the program the way he wants. Just the little things. They were going to start at their own 18-yard line. Let's see what happens after this kickoff. Taken from the 3 by Wallace. See? Take that. Improved it by 3 yards. Same player on the hit. Good job by Glenroy Watkins, the defensive lineman. 2 big hits. Back-to-back kickoffs. Well, George O'Leary, as you know, is the Georgia Tech head coach and very successful in Atlanta. Then on December 7, 2001, for this Irish Catholic from New York, a dream. Named the Notre Dame coach. 5 days of the job. You remember the resume issue, dismissed. Went to Minnesota with the Vikings. And then after 2 years, where he was an assistant head coach for his old high school quarterback, Mike Tice, played for George O'Leary. That's why he got the call to come to Minnesota right away. Taking this opportunity in Central Florida and building a defense. That's the trademark of George O'Leary. When he went to Minnesota, Kirk, he coached D-line, and then was the D coordinator for Tice with the Vikings.
One of the things we've seen, you and I, doing Thursday Night Football, is George O'Leary teams that are always well coached and how tough he is and how demanding he is of his players. That's why getting down 14-0 on the road, coming off an embarrassing year in year 1, you know on that sideline he's talking to his team about perseverance. He's had to live that in his own life, and that's what he believes in as a coach.
Good point. No gain, 2nd and 10. Blake Mitchell has not thrown an incompletion tonight. Here, forced to run, and a nice run by Mitchell. Slides down at the 33-yard line. touchdown. He'll pick up a 16 for the sophomore out of Georgia.
Again, a little thing for a young quarterback making his first career start with all the pressure. How's he going to do in Steve Spurrier's system? Doing the little things right. Looking downfield and trying to look into the defense. Does he have something open downfield? It's covered, showing enough athletic ability that he's not going to slide. He's going to get downfield and pick up a first down.
Antonio Hefner is the other quarterback who we expect to see at some point tonight. He's much more of a running threat than Mitchell. Mitchell looked fine there.
He did.
Little play pass. Another home run. Man is open, but just overshot the sophomore Travis Lee. Well, Lee is the best vertical threat of the half-dozen receivers that are going to play, maybe even 8 by the end of the season. He was open with the first incompletion of the night for Mitchell.
Great example here of how important it is. Watch the receiver at the top slow down on his route. And now he's going to pick it up. That hesitation was the difference between catching a touchdown as a young sophomore in Steve Spurrier's offense and going to the sideline with an incompletion. He'll hear about that when they look at the film.
Is that the throw to the spot deal you've been telling me about all week here?
That's what Steve Spurrier does with his quarterbacks. The quarterback's going to put it to a spot. It's up to the receiver to get to that spot.
2nd and 10. The toss is right on the money for a first down. Chris Clark, the 5'10" wide receiver, hauls that one in. And Kirk's going to get into this as the night goes on about what makes the Spurrier system go at the college level, what makes the quarterbacks go, and that's a huge part of it. The receiver carries so much of the onus in this system. When we look at the quarterback's results.
I think it sums it up when Steve Spurrier said to us yesterday, my quarterbacks are taught to throw to a spot, and when he gets to his rhythm and the timing to throw, he needs to make the throw. And I said, well, what if the receiver falls down? Is he still going to throw to that spot? He said, he's taught to throw to a spot and on the right time, and if the receiver falls down and we throw right into a defender's chest, I need to find a new receiver that's not going to fall down. So his quarterbacks are brainwashed to get back, find your rhythm, deliver the football to a certain spot. It's up to the receiver to get to that spot, and it's been pretty successful over the years.
2-yard carry for Mike Davis, and just the understanding of that system. Usually you'd see that play and say the quarterback made a mistake. It wasn't his mistake. To Noah Whiteside with room to run across the 40. Whiteside with the touchdown earlier. Got a very nice block from Chris Clark to take it to the 38-yard line.
The one player that Steve Spurrier talked about, actually got excited about, was Chris Clark, his wide receiver. And for that reason right there, Whiteside makes the catch. Chris Clark, who's the most reliable receiver they've had throughout camp, is willing to go out and make blocks. He'll do anything the coach asks him to do, and that's how you win Coach Spurrier over as a wide receiver. Not just catching touchdown passes, but being willing to block to set up running backs and other receivers.
Blake Mitchell's had last season in first quarter of 2005. With a play pass, 3 options down there. A lot of air under it. Hold in, held on. Carlos Thomas, the freshman, his first college catch as Mitchell took a shot. Cut delivery. He's over 200 yards.
He has missed one.
It wasn't his fault.
This time they use, he takes a hit. He's showing some toughness tonight, too, as a quarterback. Great catch and great concentration there for a true freshman, Carlos Thomas. The ball hung up there a little bit, and he brought it down for the big catch. People can talk all they want about Steve Spurrier's system, and boy, it was a failure in the NFL. In the college level, if your quarterback understands where to put the football, and you've got some athletic ability at wide receiver, as we've seen here in his first quarter back in college football, it works, and it works well.
End of one. 18 plays, 231 yards, 207 of them for the quarterback, Blake Mitchell, who's thrown into 6 different receivers. The Spurrier era begins with an exclamation point in Columbia tonight. College football prime time presented by Cooper Tires. Quarter number 2 here in Columbia, South Carolina leading 14-3. We're Curb Street and Aaron Andrews, Mike Tirico. Glad you're with us. With you every Thursday night, September, October, November, Wrap it up with the MAC championship game December 1st. The quarter starts 1st and 10 with the empty backfield for South Carolina and Blake Mitchell, who's pressured and will go down, sacked back at the 21-yard line. Good job with 5 in the pattern. South Carolina unable to find a way to get an open receiver. As you see all the success with South Carolina, remember, UCF was 0-11 last year. They've lost 15 in a row, nation's longest losing streak. But everyone wants to see, against a better UCF team, that Steve Spurrier's offense still has that it that it had down in Gainesville. So far, it does. A lot more tough tests ahead. Second down, great pickup of the block. Mitchell's throw is incomplete. Some big hits. Nice defensive play as well to break it up. Matt Weiner has a SportsCenter 30 at 30 update. Matt.
Mike, here's the latest on Hurricane Katrina's damage to the sports world. NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue said today he's operating under the assumption the Saints will not play in the Superdome this season. Sidney Ponsone's damage has been self-inflicted, and today the Orioles released the right-hander. The team believes he has violated his personal conduct clause with 2 DUIs and assault arrest in the last 9 months. Full details coming up in SportsCenter after the game, and of course on ESPN News right now.
Going to keep us updated on the other games going on tonight in college football on opening night. 3rd and 50. More pressure. And for the second time, he's brought down. What a series with Paul Carrington and Chris Welch doing a job up front for UCF.
And also a great job on the back end. First you had this free safety, Sharif Rashad, separating a receiver from the ball, and then the great coverage downfield. Blake Mitchell's been dropping back there in the first quarter, having not only time to throw, but open receivers. Here, great job by UCF making some adjustments and getting pressure on Mitchell.
I think this year South Carolina's going to try to use Ryan Suckup, the true freshman, for their long kicks. This is a 50-yard attempt, and he has the leg. The ball explodes off his leg. Long enough, but wrong to the right. Boy, when you're looking at 1st and 10 inside the 15 and you get a missed field goal out of it, who's some confidence for UCF. Well, we talked about all these games that are on this week. For example, TCU, Oklahoma, Miami of Ohio, Ohio State is the noon doubleheader on ABC. So one will be on your local ABC affiliate. You can buy the ESPN game plan and watch the game that's not on in your area. Like here in the South Carolina area. Clemson, Texas A&M's on ABC. Buy the package, you'll see Notre Dame, Pittsburgh. First down carry only for a couple of yards. As Central Florida gets started with Jason Peters, the junior transfer out of Butte Junior College. So this ESPN game plan will give you the opportunity all year, not only through your cable operator or your satellite provider, but also online, ESPN.com game plan. You can watch the games that are on throughout the day, throughout the country.
To me, that's the only way to spend Saturday.
It's like being on the bus.
Oh, man, back to the Home Depot bus. We watch it all day, all night.
2nd and 8 for Stephen Moffitt, the quarterback. Good throw. He stood in there to find Brandon Marshall for the first down. It was smelling like a Mike West sack, but he just got away from West and picked up the first down with Marshall.
The last drive by Moffitt, you started to see him relax a little bit and be able to settle down and read the defense. The other thing is, because they had some success running the football, he had a little bit more pressure. There's close to being a personal foul and a face mask on Mike West. But a nice ball there gave Brandon Marshall a chance to pick up the first down.
Brooks Turner is coming the game at wide receiver for UCF. Put together a nice drive last time they had the ball and ended up in a field goal. Moffitt, timing toss, incomplete. A lot of hands involved as Brooks Turner, the guy we talked about trying to break free, but couldn't get it. Well, I mentioned Turner is one of the half-dozen receivers. The 5th or 6th UCF receiver is Javid James, Jr. out of New Orleans, Louisiana. And no one is having a more difficult time focusing on playing football tonight than that young man. His sister was in New Orleans celebrating her 18th birthday when Hurricane Katrina hit, and he has not heard from his sister, nor has his mom, who just a couple of weeks ago moved from New Orleans to Orlando, Florida. We'll continue in a second as Moffitt is pressured and brought down by Chris Tucker, the nose tackle, with a sack and a loss of 9 yards. So James, and he sat with us and told us yesterday, he has been watching TV, watching to see what's happening, trying to stay involved in football, trying to console his mom. He is the male leader in the household, raised by a single mom with younger siblings, a brother and a couple of sisters, including the one who, to this point, they have not heard from. And this is a story that's being repeated and replayed all over the country. They wait and hope for some contact from his sister, in the hopes that she has sought refuge like so many people have and just can't get a phone to get a message out that she's okay. Pass for Mike Walker was incomplete, and it's 4th down, and UCF will kick the ball away.
Javid has a presence about him of being that kind of father figure with younger siblings, and really strong. You know, there's so many people who have been affected by this devastating storm, and to see him talk about his sister and talk about his faith and talk about how she's okay, she's going to be okay. He just seemed like a strong-willed individual trying to stay positive.
Aaron Horn's punt. Try to pin South Carolina back deep. And fair catch comes to the 17. Still waiting to hear from his sister Tahira. Earlier, when UCF arrived at the stadium, about an hour 45 before kickoff, Aaron Andrews spoke with Javid.
She said that for me not to worry, let her do all the worrying. You know, this is really outside of the matter of fact, but we do have a big game tonight in a few minutes, and I mainly need to stay focused on what, you know, my responsibilities are. But family comes first, so that worry will never leave me. My sister is in New Orleans somewhere. I'm hoping that she evacuated with her friends she went to visit, but I really don't know. Neither does my mother. Like I said, in speaking with her, she just said she went to visit friends. August 27th was her birthday. She arrived in New Orleans on the 26th, the eve of the 26th, and since then we haven't heard from her. This morning, my mom said that she received a message of some sort on a voicemail at the hotel that they're staying in now in Orlando. And we don't know if it was her because she didn't say mom. She didn't say it was. We just heard hello, hello, and there was a disconnection. So we're hoping that that was her and that she'll try to contact us again.
Pass to Savell Newton is caught and taken out to the 22. We're going to have 3rd and 5 coming up. So to hear they hope that was her making the phone call. Here's a number at the UCF Sports Information Department, 407-823-5349. If by any chance you have any information regarding Tahira, where she might be, as we said, thousands of people have evacuated, just can't make phone contact at this point. Just in the off chance somebody may know who Tahira is with, you can call that number. We'll show the number again later on tonight. You can see he's trying to stay in the game and focus his energy with his teammates tonight, asking the defense to come up on 3rd and 5 and get the ball back. They pressure the quarterback, gets rid of it, and is caught by Clark, who scooped it off the ground and picks up a 1st down at the 29-yard line. That sounded like it hit the ground before he scooped it, but he comes up with a catch and moves the chains. Instant replay is available in the game tonight, by the way.
Don't forget the SEC. Look very closely, but I think he may have caught the ball. The knee touching the ground, I think, is just as big an issue instead of the ball hitting the ground.
The officials are having a conference. They do say incomplete pass.
Okay.
Now there is a replay official here tonight. Up here on the press box level, the SEC system will work the same as the Big Ten system. So the replay official can make a decision to phone down, stop the game, and take a further look. Although I believe the conference got it right on the field.
I was going to say, let's give credit to the referee and to the officials because they made the right call. Even if he did catch it, which The more you look at it, the more it does look like it touched the ground before he did catch it. His knee is down before the first down line. South Carolina would be forced to punt regardless.
That's a great stop for UCF, and here with the different punt formation to set up a rugby-type punt for Aaron Horn, Josh Brown, we get a whistle for a penalty.
Prior to the snap, false start. 41, offense. Penalty is 5 yards, replay 4 back.
By the way, UCF is now in CUSA, okay? Central Florida's in Conference USA. They will have a different replay system when they use replay. The technical advisor guy up in the box stops the game, but the referee on the field makes the decision. He goes under the hood like the NFL referees do, looks and makes the decision. It's the only conference that will be like that. Well, the rugby punt, missed that. That's special. Down at the 45-yard line. So Central Florida took a punch in the gut, hung in there, got a field goal.
Hanging around.
Defense showed up. Javid James and company just still around this game.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Toyota. Choose any direction as long as it's forward. Toyota, moving forward. And the United States Army, an army of one.
As mentioned, Columbia, the state capital of South Carolina, beautiful Capitol building, and it's only a few blocks away here from campus and Williams-Brice Stadium. 80,000 strong. They've sold this place out for 6 consecutive years. As Chris Fowler mentioned at the top of game day almost a couple of hours ago, the place was full when the win column was empty. It's a great line. It's the way it was when they played Clemson and they had no wins. The place was sold out. First down run. Kevin Smith, ball came out. The whistle had blown. Let's see if the play was stopped. They say it was, and a pickup of 3 for the true freshman Smith.
Kevin Smith off the carry.
Things that they thought was imperative with this offense is the ability to get up to the second level to pick up some blocking downfield. That time, Gagne Marcoux, the center, did a nice job of getting up to the linebacker. And to have success, you got to be able to run the football against South Carolina in the UCF system to set up their play action.
That ball clearly came out before he was down, but the whistle was blown. So Moffitt keeps possession, throws deep, and it's incomplete for Mike Walker. Good coverage from Fred Bennett. Step for step there. Guy who started all 11 last year through injury.
Wide receivers going to have a hard time this year getting behind both corners from South Carolina. Fred Bennett, who had a shoulder that bothered him all of 2004, had surgery in the offseason. He's now healthy. And Jonathan Joseph missed all last year. He got hurt against Georgia. 2 very good corners that SEC receivers will struggle with throughout the year.
3rd and 7, needing to get to the 44. Time for Moffitt, who throws high and incomplete. So UCF will not take advantage of the good field position. Ko Simpson, who really bird dogs those quarterbacks, had 6 picks last year, was there covering Brandon Marshall.
Ko Simpson is one of the more instinctive safeties in college football. He's able to read things before most safeties. Most safeties see the ball in the air, and then they're going to respond. Ko Simpson has just an instinct. When he sees something, he reacts before the ball is thrown, which allows him to get there to either knock the receiver down or make an interception.
That was a great look, too. That first look, you could see him looking out of the corner of his eye. Like the last possible vision on the side of the helmet there. Another punt by Horn, fielded inside the 5. A mistake most times, but Kenny McKinley, with flags down, will be brought down at the 36-yard line. That's one of those you don't really do that. Catch it inside the 5.
No, you don't. But when you're a true freshman trying to make a name for yourself, you sometimes make some mistakes.
See, I don't think you get well received when you come on back to the home side. You know?
No. The old ball coach doesn't care for that.
New ball coaches don't care for that either.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 28 on the receiving team. Half the distance to the goal. First down. Timeout.
Romano Williams was flagged there. So a long field for USC when we come back. South Carolina scored on its first 2 possessions. This flag will make it a long field for the game. Two scores in the first half of the first quarter for South Carolina, leading Central Florida 14-3. Here on ESPN's College Football Primetime. Starting the season in the SEC. Crisscross the country here in September. Spend every Thursday in October in the ACC. You see a lot of good games there. We'll check in on the best game of the year. A couple of conferences preseason. Pittsburgh, Louisville, Boise State, Fresno in our November schedule. Spent Thanksgiving night in the backyard brawl. First down for Mitchell. Complete to Chris Clark. To the 24-yard line. You know, you look at Mitchell and you look at these quarterbacks in South Carolina in practice, and you see similarities in what Shane Matthews did. Not in their production yet. Danny Werfel leading them to the title and the Heisman as well. Then you went to the year after Werfel with Doug Johnson and Jesse Palmer, 96 through 99 for Johnson. Palmer overlapping the back end of that, and then Rex Grossman, who unfortunately was injured again and is out with the Chicago Bears for the majority of this season. Unfortunate incident as he was just trying to throw the ball, got hit late. Mitchell got hazy through that one, and it's caught! How in the world did Travis Lee come up with that? To the 35-yard line, first down. I don't know how Mitchell stood in there and throw it, or how Lee caught it.
George O'Leary said for coaches, usually by the third series, they make adjustments. The adjustment the UCF is making is they're bringing more pressure. And that time, Paul Carrington let Blake Mitchell know exactly what it takes to be a quarterback at this level. The throw was amazing, outstanding catch. But I'll tell you, the one thing about Blake Mitchell that we're learning about him early is this kid is tough and willing to sit in that pocket and make some great throws.
Antonio Hefner is coming at quarterback as Lee has come out. And I believe Mitchell came out as well after taking that shot. Mitchell, nobody's looking at him, so this may be part of what Steve Spurrier talked about, bringing Hefner in at some point during the game, but was forced to take a timeout there. So we'll step out for a second. We'll see if Antonio Hefner makes his debut for South Carolina when we come back. As we come back out of the timeout, a run from Mike Davis of USC. And Davis picks up about 5 yards, and Hefner stays in. So here is Antonio Hefner, redshirt freshman quarterback out of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, everybody rates everybody coming out of high school. He was rated one of the top 5 athletes in Tennessee as a prep performer, and he does have that running ability to mix in.
He was recruited to run Lou Holtz's option style of offense. I don't think Steve Spurrier has ever had as an athletic guy as what you have in Antonio Hefner running his system.
Picking up blocks on the draw. Very close to first down yardage. Andy Boyd, who caught the second touchdown. Number 80, the tight end, made a nice block downfield.
In fact, Steve Spurrier said when Antonio gets into the game, he's going to have his own package. A lot of times you see coaches, offensive coaches, maybe have an athletic guys system and more of a drop back style. Hefner will run some plays that are designed for him to get out to the outside and showing his athletic ability. In fact, Steve Spurrier Jr. told me we had one play in spring called just scramble left or scramble right. Take 5 steps, pitch, take off running. Not a draw, but a designed scramble.
Davis running, trying to pick up the first down. Good control of the line of scrimmage by Central Florida. They are not getting blown off the ball like they did. When you watch UCF film from last year, they get pushed back and pushed back. They're holding themselves in there right now. They might have a 4th down play coming up here. At Williams-Brice Stadium, the Steve Spurrier debut. 14 quick points on the opening 2 drives for South Carolina. Central Florida stemmed the tide since. Haven't been able to move the ball, save for 1 drive. They're going to try to stop South Carolina on 4th and short here. After keeping, might have picked up enough. It all depends on the spot. Look out. Post-whistle pushing and shoving with Jabari Levy. Excellent left tackle for USC. Let's see where they mark this one.
Come down to the spot. Like you indicated, UCF much tougher, much more physical this year in the defensive lines. Quarterback, you're taught to try to find the bubble, try to find the side. A lot of times you'll give the offensive line a left call or a right call. That time Hefner, I think, hesitated. He got enough for the first, but he hesitated just enough to give UCF a chance to fill the gap. And the ball coach not real happy, at least on the other sideline, about that.
Yeah, they did pick up the first down. It wasn't a visor throw or
not yet.
Not yet. Kind of almost took the plays and threw him down. I wonder what they're thinking in Gainesville. All our friends down there are getting ready for Urban Meyer's debut on Saturday. I'm sure they're watching tonight. They're taking off, eluded one hit, brings it down to the 21-yard line. The Spurrier had a great line. We'll talk about his NFL experience a little bit later on, as he's going to send his starting quarterback Blake Mitchell back in. He said in Washington at the end of the run, his "give a damn" was busted. Quoting the Jody Messina song, Central Florida's "give a damn" was busted on a nightly basis when they played last year, but it wasn't here when it was 14-0 mid-first quarter. We need to hold the line again on this drive. 2nd and 6, Blake Mitchell back in. Sees it complete to Noah Whiteside. First down for South Carolina at the 10. Whiteside having a very good night. So is Mitchell.
It's the timing we've talked about and how hard South Carolina's worked to understand Steve Spurrier's system. You're going to have Whiteside come in, simple, and you're going to have the outside here, cut there. One thing that South Carolina has to do is have a quarterback willing, now throws the football before the wide receiver turns his head to come back to the football. Great anticipation that time by Blake Mitchell.
Mitchell to the end zone, just through the hands of Chris Clark. Boy, he has been so sharp tonight. 14 of 18. One a receiver's mistake. This one was close to being caught.
It would have been a great catch. Chris Clark is a smaller receiver at 5'10". Cuts to the outside. This is the timing again. Look at the football and how well it's thrown. Catchable ball away from the defender. Chris Clark, 9 times out of 10, makes that kill.
See, I look back to Spurrier. Make sure everything was cool. With the screen to Davis. The 10 and knocked down back at the 5-yard line. We see that so much in this state with Clemson. And, Whitehurst, the quarterback, he's standing there. He's looking over. Coach Bowden, okay, we good on this play? Steve Spurrier started that whole deal, didn't he?
Yeah. How many times going way back did you see Florida quarterbacks look over the defense, give that fake leg indication for the snap, let the defense move into position, then look over to Steve, get the call, and then go ahead with the call. Let's see if Blake Mitchell this time looks into the defense on his own and decides to look over at coach. He's going to go on his own here. Well, there it is.
34. Get me to the 34, Blake. A run to Davis. Hauled down behind the line of scrimmage. Paul Harrington again. Very intelligent leader on this defensive front, has made several first-half big plays.
Another nice job by UCF. Standing up, position for South Carolina, maybe put this game out of reach and really put away UCF. But they're tough up front. They are working incredibly hard across the board in that front line by UCF.
He just beat Fran Person, the offensive lineman. That's the weakness of this offensive team for South Carolina, the interior big guys up front.
You say all of these great things about South Carolina, whether it happens in this game or it's going to happen next week against Georgia. How will Blake Mitchell respond when Steve Spurrier loses his cool? and really comes after him. We always talked about the Gator quarterbacks and how, boy, Danny Werfel knew how to handle it. Rex Grossman knew how to handle it. There were others that didn't know how to handle it. How will Blake Mitchell, whether it's later tonight or next week, handle it when he throws a couple picks or makes some mistakes?
Overall, Mitchell with 283 passing yards. It's funny, I just took a quick peek. Savell Newton had a 324-yard passing game last year. That was the tops for South Carolina. Why am I holding the ball, by the way? Back to you.
You look good.
I was just standing here, and I just grabbed it. Newton had a 324-yard passing game. That was the tops of the season. You're close to that with Mitchell here in the first half for South Carolina, so it's really a different era.
Well, if you just turn the game on, you're thinking, I wonder how Blake Mitchell, the quarterback for South Carolina, is doing. You can look at his numbers and be impressed, but the command of the offense and the fact that he's been able to take some tough hits, he has come back in. And look at his demeanor right there talking to coach. He has what it takes, at least tonight, to be able to handle this offense and all the delicate details that go involved with it.
Josh Brown from the angle bangs through the field goal. It's 22 yards, and it is 17-3. Brown is going to be pushed for his own job. That shows up on the Groza Award preseason watch list. Has been good on his kick attempts tonight. Well, we're back on campus, presented by State Farm all weekend, all good games. And you talk about quarterbacks, you've got some pretty good quarterbacks who will be forced to carry some of the load for their team in that Boise State-Georgia game. And then Georgia Tech goes to Auburn to take on the Tigers.
I see Georgia being more of a running football team with a big offensive line and maybe one of the best running backs by committee in the entire country. Auburn, Georgia Tech, low-scoring game. Great defensive play by both teams. How Reggie Ball plays in front of that hostile crowd will tell you whether or not Georgia Tech's able to get a win on the road at Jordan-Hare.
He's got a pretty good sophomore receiver to help him out.
Oh, my God. I think the best receiver in the country, Calvin Johnson.
Best receiver in the country?
Best receiver in the country plays at Georgia Tech.
How about the sophomore class of game changers and playmakers? Teddy Ginn up at Ohio State. Just scratching the surface.
You think we could set up a relay race with Devin Hester and Reggie Bush and Teddy Ginn? That'd be a pretty good race.
Bush and USC open tomorrow on ESPN in Hawaii.
Wait to see that.
Matt Leinart, the Heisman winner, and USC trying to start that truly unprecedented run for a third consecutive AP national title. So many storylines, as there is every opening weekend of college football. The kickoff by Ryan Suckup will be brought out this time. And Jason Peters is submerged shy of the 20. Penalty marker is down. Let's check the flag after the Tremaine Tyler tackle.
Stop by Tremaine Tyler.
So the block below the waist will make it a long field for UCF. Let's go down to the field. Erin Andrews has a special guest. Erin.
Guys, you know, it's ESPN. We bring the A-list out here. Big and Rich, who performed tonight during the big extravaganza. Now, you guys' theme song for College Game Day this year, how did that come about?
Coming to your city. It's a song that Kenny and I wrote a while back. It's the title track of our new album coming out. College Game Day goes to the hottest city of the week. It just made sense. Big Kenny, myself, Cowboy Troy, we're kind of a cross-section of the world anyway, and we're all huge college football fans. It made sense. We're very excited to have this opportunity.
And that's right. We have 2 Longhorns fans, right, and a Virginia fan. So when you guys are on tour, how do you manage to watch all those games?
Well, you know what? We've got all the satellite television going on that you can possibly get on our buses. But what I'm kind of hoping for one day is that I know both of these guys are big UT fans. They're always wearing the hook 'em horns and everything. But I would just love to see Virginia Tech take on your butts, all right? All right? I just want to see that one.
And I would like to see my 70-year-old grandmother make me jeans like this because that's what his 70-year-old grandmother did. I love sequins, guys. Guys, back up to you.
Thank you, Erin. Big and Rich.
You know, it's crazy as Tarika, you have those jeans.
Oh, me? Yeah. You know, I saved them for that special preseason opening night dinner.
Aaron, tell the boys, hook 'em September 10th at Columbus. Look forward to it.
2nd and 4 for Stephen Moffitt and UCF's offense. Final 2 minutes, first half. Jason Peters becoming a feature back here. Takes it a yard shy of the first down. We'll have third and a yard coming up. South Carolina still has a couple of timeouts. Not taking one here.
Got a feeling George O'Leary right now, just waiting to see, first of all, if they can pick up the first down. He's probably in the in-between stage right now. Maybe get out of Dodge, down 17-3. Depending on what happens here, probably will dictate the next sequence of plays.
If they pick it up, if not, South Carolina stop it. Take the timeout. First down run to the 26-yard line. So the use of the big back there, Peters, and that 2-minute offense.
There you go. Pick up the first down. You're buried because of the penalty inside your own 20. You pick up a first down, and all of a sudden you're talking about the possibility of getting in and out of the huddle or go no huddle and see if you can pick up at least a field goal. It's a simple power play. Good blocking upfield. Nice lead block on a fullback, picking up a nice first down.
Josh Sitton, the right tackle, getting up there, getting in somebody's way. So the clock runs. We'll come up on a minute as Moffitt throws complete and out of bounds. Well orchestrated by Mike Walker, who had 9 catches last year. You know, Mike Walker and Brandon Marshall, the 2 starting wide receivers for UCF, they went over and played defensive back last year. It got so bad for these guys last year. Brandon Marshall had to go play safety after the first 6 safeties were knocked out in the first 3 weeks of the season. That's unbelievable.
Well, Walker, number 11, and Marshall, number 6, had to make that sacrifice for the team. Marshall led the team in tackles. He came to UCF to play receiver, and last year he's lined up as a starting free safety.
First and 10. Rocky Ross, true freshman, first catch. Need to stop the clock here for UCF.
On the reception.
As it runs with 50 seconds left. And now the timeout is called from the sideline, which is that rule change implemented a couple of seasons ago.
For all the coaches and players that are watching, this is where practice over the summer in week 1. Every team in the country for 2.5 or 3 weeks works on defending the 2-minute and running the 2-minute. And how well you have the reps in practice and how well your players execute and understand will give you an opportunity to either get some points late in the half or at the end of a game, or you'll not, and you'll be wasting timeouts and walk away with nothing.
48 seconds before halftime.
You won't want to miss tonight's special
we're going to check back in with Matt.
All the Gamecock athletic teams and coaches.
Performance halftime report and all the scores and highlights. Our crew here in Columbia. We got the whole team here. Corso, Fowler, Mark May, Trev Alberts, Reese Davis doing SportsCenter 50 and 50. It's kind of ESPN at South Carolina, in addition to UCF at South Carolina here tonight as we kick off the college football season. South Carolina scoring 14 points in the first half of the first quarter, and it's been 3-3 since then.
I know you work with a lot of sports. For me, selfishly, and I love all the sports, tonight's the greatest night of the year for me. Tonight is the greatest night of the year because I know what's going to happen between now and January 5. Nothing but college football. Mix in a little NFL, but college football is back.
During 2001, when South Carolina's coming on the field, Herbie's kicking it. Moffitt down the middle, right through the hands of Marshall. Couldn't make that next step to get out to it. Third and 4 coming up. That's the fun part of this weekend when you, as you saw the start of the game, you dust off all the traditions at every place. We'll hear Hang On Sloopy up at the Horseshoe in Columbus. Hail to the victors when the Wolverines come in Ann Arbor. All across the country. All weekend it starts, and it's just really so unique and why the start of the college football season gets your juices going.
And what a great starting weekend. There aren't necessarily the huge games, but there are enough intriguing games to catch your eye throughout the whole weekend.
Best opening weekend we've had in about 5 years. Yep. Third and 4. Moffitt complete. Ross, the freshman, hangs on. Took 2 shots, held on, and got the first down. Rocky Ross, the true freshman out of Jacksonville, took coaching very early in camp. Dubbed a surprise by his coaches.
34.
Good pickups there. It's first down, not 3rd and 4.
Not only does Ross pick up a first down and have a pretty good indication of where he needs to get, he also fought like crazy to get out of bounds to stop the clock. Every second very precious to UCF trying to get into field goal range.
46 seconds remaining. UCF 1 timeout left. It stands in, throws late down the middle, and that's always an interception. Looking to see who, if it's joint possession, as Mike Walker was fighting in there, but it's not. Fred Bennett comes away with it, and South Carolina will take over with 28 seconds left.
Mike, Fred Bennett right away showing that he's playing man-to-man against Walker. Stays to the inside, turns, the ball's thrown behind. If the ball were able to lead Mike Walker, it's a completion and a first down. And that's how close it is. He probably missed that by 6 inches. 6 inches of accuracy is the difference between a first down and maybe a field goal opportunity and an interception for Fred Bennett in South Carolina.
Bennett had 4 picks last year. Remember 2 in the game against Alabama. Down here to 28 seconds. Let's see if Spurrier's team will take it in or take a shot. First down run will go nowhere with Mike Davis, and that will wrap up, in all likelihood, this first half.
Mike Davis on the carry.
Blake Mitchell's going to get him to the line. Will we sneak a snap in here before we're done? Nope, he won't. And we have reached halftime. Mitchell 15 of 19, 283 yards. The opening 2 drives, touchdowns. There's that Steve Spurrier jog off the field. 17-3 here at the half. And Aaron Andrews is with Coach Spurrier.
Coach, you told us yesterday you didn't know what to expect. What do you think after the first half?
Well, fortunately, we throw the ball a little bit because we can't get back to the line of scrimmage running. Our running game, Central Florida, they're tough.
Almost 300 yards.
Yeah, we got to find a way to run the ball somewhere. Or fortunately, we make some pass completions, though, fortunately.
And almost 300 yards of passing for Blake Mitchell. How would you evaluate him?
He's played a little better than maybe we all thought, but he's capable, and he's got some good receivers, so I guess we'll have to keep throwing.
Thanks, Coach. Guys.
Thank you, Aaron. 14. What are you laughing at?
I just love it. I love that he's back in college football.
Woo! Fowler, he does a great imitation of Spurrier running off the field. I'm sure you've seen it on the bus.
Woo!
To Chris and the guys for halftime.
The key Spurrier running off the field. Welcome to our Pontiac Performance halftime report. Trev, Mark, and Lee join me here. Leave it to the old ball coach to put kind of a negative spin on it there. Yeah, their offense looked great, but we couldn't run the ball. If he thinks UCF is tough up front, wait till he sees Georgia, Tennessee, and Florida. So this crowd out here, Lee, the very first play call, there was some rumbling in the stadium. Hand up the middle, 1-yard gain. But very soon after that, it was vintage Spurrier offense.
Well, the vintage Spurrier, and in fact, also he used 6 different formations in that first drive. He threw screens, threw tight ends cross, a post, and a curl. And I love the play calling. But I'll tell you what, he's absolutely right. If he thinks he's going to win the SEC East with that running attack or stopping the run with that attack, he's way off base, my friends. Way off base.
I'll tell you what, Steve Spurrier is about passing, execution, making things happen, being efficient with the football. That's what this offense was. You look at Blake Mitchell in the first half, just under 300 yards passing the football. That's Steve Spurrier offense. And watching him on the field, how poised he was and how he handled this offense was very impressive for a quarterback that looked like he'd been in Steve Spurrier's system for years, Trent.
I tell you what, I think a team is a reflection of the head coach, and I think I saw a team that played with a lot of confidence from the get-go. And I want to give Steve Spurrier and this offense a lot of credit, especially for the first 2 drives. You know what, guys? There happens to be another team in this game, UCF, and if I'm George O'Leary right now, you throw out those first 2 drives, and I understand those are important. It's a 3-3 ball game. You tell your guys, look, they had their first 2 drives. We made our adjustments. It's 3-3. It's halftime. We have a shot in this game. I give them credit for hanging in there right now.
You know, he didn't say, by the way, Lee, he was going to win the SEC East this year with this team.
No, but these people expect him to win it.
This year?
Yes, sir. They expect everything at this point.
The crusher of dreams, the deflator of hopes. Lee Carson. Right. We will come back. We'll talk more about the big ball games on tap this weekend. We'll get these guys' thoughts on the Canes and the Noles, and also the Hokies and the Wolfpack. And Matt Weiner will have an update from the Bristol studios on the baseball pennant races. A lot more coming up on the Pontiac Performance Report from Columbia after this.
All set for quarter number 3 here on the opening night of college football. ESPN College Football Primetime presented by Cooper Tires. Central Florida hanging with South Carolina. With first quarter on, down 14. Their coach George O'Leary visits with Aaron Andrews.
Coach, your defense has limited USC's ground game to just 24 yards. What has been the key?
Well, the key has really been we got to play pass defense. We gave up 3 big pass plays, which led to points, and that's the difference in the game. And offensively, we got to do some things ourselves. We had some opportunities there. We didn't take advantage of them. So the big thing we got to do is stop the long play, and we need to get some turnover and get some field position.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, Aaron, thank you. Let's look at those numbers from the first half and some of the things that jump out. What Trev and Mark and Coach Corso were pointing out, South Carolina's inability to run the ball there, 24 yards, but obviously
who cares
the
tonight?
ability.
I'm saying running the football. It's tonight. It's Blake Mitchell. He's 15 of 19 for 283. Maybe if it calls for it next week or the week after that, and they have to go back to running the football. But to me, when you have an opportunity to make some big plays downfield, you take advantage of it. And if it's working, you go back to it. But George O'Leary just said something to Aaron that is so true. Prevent the big play. How many defensive coaches have said, make Steve Spurrier be patient? That's the key to beating him. Those first couple of scores, he didn't have to be very patient.
I like this kicker. I like this kicker alive for South Carolina. Ryan Suckup kicks it out of the end zone. No return. Touchback. That's tap into the Home Depot coaching adjustments here in the second half.
Well, you're down by 14 points. For George O'Leary, opportunity to get the football here to start the half. Don't panic. Just execute better with your quarterbacks and your receivers. Continue to run the football and mix it up. For South Carolina, and like I said, 24 yards rushing. We can go back to the videotape tomorrow and try to figure out how to run the ball better. But tonight, continue to throw the football and have success with Blake Mitchell.
You don't want to figure out if you can run it for next week in Georgia?
It's still a game. You got to still tackle.
Out of the tackle nearly of Coach Simpson. Dragged forward for about 8 yards. So Kevin Smith, the true freshman out of Miami, with the run. You know, Smith is an interesting story. The recruiting trail spits out so many unique tales. And here's Smith, who as a junior really was a good runner. But all of a sudden, as a senior, he only carried 7 times. Coaching change in his high school, Miami Southridge, got moved to safety. So only the junior tape of his running was around. And wait a minute, he can still run. Central Florida offer him there. That time, he got tied up with his big guy, Sean Gilhooly, the offensive lineman up front, and couldn't get back to the original line of scrimmage.
I thought it was interesting talking with the coordinators when we talked with Tim Sale. I mean, I think we've got some good backs. Wilcox can run, and Smith can run, and down the line. And
now, Tim's the offensive coordinator.
Then we talked with Lance Thompson, who's the defensive coordinator, and he's brought up in the scrimmages. I'll tell you what, guys. Kevin Smith is a war daddy as a true freshman in our scrimmages. This guy's got a great future.
3rd and 2. South Carolina showing disguise, bringing 6. Pass caught by Marshall for the first down to the 35. There's a little bit of sense of what they do, and there is the defensive coordinator we're talking about.
Thompson has a lot of energy as a defensive coordinator. He's tonight done a great job of making some adjustments and getting his guys not to give up after they got down 14 early in this game. All of a sudden, he's giving his team some belief by making the adjustments to give them a better chance.
Lance was in the SEC at LSU. Spent a lot of time with George O'Leary at Georgia Tech. Smith tried to bounce outside, and Coach Simpson cleaned up on that one. Coach Simpson was getting the assist as Kevin Smith was stood up, and 10 finished him off.
The things that George O'Leary mentioned to us was the importance of moving the tight ends from side to side. Darcy Johnson this time moving over, and all they're looking for is for the linebackers to respond and move over 6 inches or a foot. That'll give the better blocking angles for their offensive line to get the leverage that they need to bring up some big open holes for the running backs.
Moffitt, time, throws complete. Darcy Johnson, a good-looking tight end, takes it for a first down. The NFL has come to take a peek in Orlando at some practices. This young man, 6'5", 255. He caught 30 balls last year.
This is why I say don't panic. If UCF can put a drive together here, it's a one-possession game. We're just starting the third quarter. When you can run the football in this offense and what they're trying to accomplish, it opens up the play-action pass, which is what their quarterback, Stephen Moffitt, enjoys and prefers.
From the 47, the junior Moffitt hands off and watches his running back get eaten up by Lance Lowry. No chance as Lance, the smart linebacker out of Hopkins, South Carolina, makes the tackle.
Well, this is something when you have speed and you have guys coming off the backside that can close the gap. A lot of times on the chalkboard, you don't even account for Lowry there because he slid to the outside. You feel that the counter will outrun Lowry. That time he had the speed to chase it down.
Jason Peters now the deep back, 2nd and 11. He blocks. Moffitt throws. It's caught by Brandon Marshall again for the first down. Like West over there on the cover.
Don't look now, but I think we're seeing a quarterback right now get a little bit comfortable with his ability to sit back in the pocket. One little hitch, stops, reads the defense, has first of all, one receiver wide open in the flat, but takes a chance and goes downfield and picks up another first down for UCF.
Moffitt, 3 of 3 on the drive. Run by Jason Peters. They say the ball was down again. It's the second time that's happened. Peters out of Seattle, Washington, Newton Junior College. Some folks had him as one of the top 3 or 4 junior college backs last year. Broke a bone in his foot in the spring that kind of stunted his growth. But they figure out a lot of one-back and big-back work out of Jason this season.
They're doing a great job of mixing the run, inside power with some outside zone. And right now, the offensive line, including the tight end Darcy Johnson, are winning the battle up front against South Carolina.
On 2nd down, Moffitt play action. Out of the pocket and gets as much as he can out of the play, making some very smart decisions here on this drive. Well, 3rd and about a yard coming up with about 4 minutes gone by in the 3rd.
As bad as things started in this game, this second half as it started exactly the way George O'Leary would like, by getting the ball first, picking up a first down, and now gaining some momentum. And Mike, you touched on it. Moffitt making good decisions, not only throwing the football, but that time the scramble to set up a 3rd and short.
3rd and 1 with Peters where the ball is, if it's marked properly, and the line is in the correct spot, which I think it is. It's going to be just shy of the first down. Take a peek and look at it. It could be a 48-yard field goal from here, but it's 17-3.
Should I pull a Lee Corso?
I was just thinking.
If I'm first guessing, not second guessing, you've got to sneak it and go for it. You're coming off an 0-11 year. You're on the road against an SEC team.
Absolutely.
Nobody thought you had a chance. You got a chance to get within a touchdown if you can continue to move the chains. You got to go for it.
You got a first down anyway.
There it is.
How about that?
If it happens again, we'll tell them to go for it next time.
So reserve the first guess for next time around.
But again, the offensive line here, not doing a great job, but enough here to push it across to get the first down when South Carolina was in that short yardage defense. It's a nice drive, 10 plays, 49 yards. Got to keep moving.
Moffitt goes out of the gun on first down. Mike Walker holds on to the football as he's brought down to the 30-yard line. Cody Wells and Lance Lowry again on the tackle. We talked about this South Carolina defense. John Thompson and Tyrone Nix really trying to create havoc and create illusions for the quarterback in the offense.
Well, Tyrone Nix, who was a defensive coordinator last year with a white hat on Southern Miss, did such a great job. And, of course, his mentor standing to his left, all right, John Thompson, who's the head coach at East Carolina.
Quick count there. Takes it out to the 25-yard line. We'll have 3rd and 5 coming up as Peters carried that time.
And the way they like to describe their defense is just, it's almost organized chaos. They like to move around. They like to be very unconventional. They said, you know what, to equate it to an offense, it's like if an offense were to run a wishbone offense. Defenses don't see that every day or every week, so it's hard to prepare for. And that's what it is for their defense. It's an unconventional defense, hard to prepare for and emulate in practice.
13th play of the drive. It's 3rd and 4 for UCF. Moffitt throws, held on to by Rocky Ross, but where he was able to get that extra couple of yards in the first quarter, or the second quarter, Coe Simpson denied him there. It's 4th and about 2. A field goal from here would be 40 yards.
This is what I like about Coe Simpson as a safety. There are a lot of times that they put him in a position where he's got to play man-to-man. If Moffitt were able to get back and get rid of the football quicker, look how fast Coe Simpson closes on Ross. But if Moffitt were able to get the ball out quicker, it would have given Ross more of an opportunity to cut off field and pick up a first down.
All right, Matt Prater will come on, try a 40-yard field goal. Young man who had 11 consecutive field goals in the stretch at 2003 in the beginning of 04, hooked that one badly and missed it. So all that work, 13 plays, 6 minutes, 40 seconds, results in a missed field goal. And he didn't run off by the coach. He ran off the other side of the sideline.
Out of the stadium.
Back here at Williams-Brice Stadium in the state capital of South Carolina, as Steve Spurrier's offense retakes the field with Blake Mitchell out of LaGrange, Georgia, who had a terrific first half, his first true half opportunity. And George O'Leary frustrated by moving it in position and letting one of those can't let it slip away opportunities get away. Bobby Wallace carries on first down, gains about a yard or so.
For George O'Leary, when you move the ball all the way down to open the half, down to the South Carolina 23, and you come away with nothing. Now you're putting the game back into the hands of the defense, who, outside of the big plays that they've given up early in the game for the 14 points, they've battled. They've shown a lot of determination. Now, for a team that was 0-11 last year, Mike, will they continue to fight here and finish, which is something that George O'Leary always preaches to his team.
First time we've seen this play handed to Savell Newton, last year's starting quarterback, with good speed and good strength, pulled down out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Those receivers are doing a nice job blocking downfield. They got blocks again from Chris Clark and Noah Whiteside. We get the marker on the sideline. Let's check it out. Okay, face mask is called, and that will take South Carolina across midfield.
As soon as Savell Newton has his hands on the football, you can just tell how comfortable he is. He's an option quarterback, a guy that's been able to throw the football, make some catches throughout his career. He's decided to move back now with Steve Spurrier's system. Talking to him yesterday, I think he's excited for the opportunity to be a receiver in this offense and to see what he can do this year.
Checking his left arm as he landed awkwardly after the 5-yard penalty, and that's 25 in that play, so they'll just be shy of midfield. That was a Gator play. They're the ones who started that play that almost everybody has in their playbooks now. Pass complete to Chris Clark, just agonizingly a half-second late for the defense. Be very close to, in fact, pick up the first down at the 40. James Cook couldn't get there.
We'll continue to talk about the timing, but when you're on the close to the right hash and you're going to throw all the way over to the sideline, if you're late by even 1/10 of a second, that's not only intercepted, but it's 17-10. Mitchell very, very close there, taking a chance, but he got it in there.
Mitchell closing in on 300 yards. It's been a long time since we've seen a South Carolina quarterback throw for over 350 in a game. To work right away. Looking deep for Travis Lee. Trying to come back to the ball. Slips and falls or incidental contact with Jonell Neal. Whatever the case, it'll be second down. Kirk, the last time a South Carolina quarterback threw for 350 yards in a game, Anthony Wright, 1996. But when you're throwing for 15 per pass, and this guy's calling his 30 passes a game, you got a chance to get up there.
Blake's looking over. Steve Spurrier said throughout his calling shows he asked the fans to be quiet. He's just yelling out the audible instead of having the hand signal.
The 40, Mitchell throws as he's snowed under. trying to sneak it through to Noah Whiteside, and a penalty marker comes in, as you hear, slightly belated, but I think the correct call for the late hit.
Not only a late hit, I think it could be head-to-head contact. Blake Mitchell just taking a beating tonight for South Carolina.
You know, protection at times was the issue with Spurrier's system at Florida against those aggressive defensive fronts like Florida State.
Roughing the passer on defense, 15-yard penalty, first down.
Mike, one of the things in defending Steve Spurrier's system is a lot of people feel that you have to get pressure and knock the quarterback around. You're right. 1996 on their way to a national championship. Andre Wadsworth, Peter Boulware, Bernard Wilson. How many times have you seen him hit Danny Warfel late and close to being late? It's the psychological factor in battling against the Steve Spurrier quarterback.
Lenore Watkins, the flag there. Savell Newton down the sideline. Touchdown. I don't know if Chris Clark is going to grade out.
I was going to
go in the same place. It's the blocker of the night, but man, every play that's been a big one. 86 has thrown a huge block for the Gamecocks tonight.
Well, Newton's going to get the credit, but you're right. And Steve Spurrier, first guy that he hugs is Chris Clark. It's the third time tonight in a big play that we've seen Chris Clark come up with a big block. Former walk-on who earned a scholarship, intelligent, quick. Let's not forget the throw and a catch. Newton got down the field pretty easy once he made the catch to get downfield and score the touchdown.
Josh Brown adds the extra point. Central Florida drives it, doesn't do anything with it. Gives South Carolina too many chances. The Gamecocks crow here in Columbia, 24-3.
ESPN's College Football Primetime. Brought to you by Amstel Light, the beer drinkers light beer, and T-Mobile. Get more minutes, more features, more service.
Well, it was bandit ball in the USFL when Steve Spurrier was in Tampa Bay. Of course, it was the air ball, the nickname they gave the offense at Duke. It was the fun and gun at Florida. It didn't get to nickname status with the Redskins. But no. Cock and Fire for the Gamecocks is the nickname of the offense, vintage Spurrier. Cock and Fire, I like that name. That'll stick. I like it. Well, they have fired 3 75-plus yard drives here tonight, 4 touchdowns, and a wise decision by Jason Peters, influenced by Curtis Francis to take a knee. Let's go back to the touchdown.
Well, for all you recruits who are watching this game tonight and dream about playing for Steve Spurrier, you're probably looking at number 13, Savell Newton, scoring a touchdown. Steve Spurrier is looking at number 86, Chris Clark, and his ability and willingness to go out there and sacrifice his body downfield. That's how you grade out well in Steve Spurrier's system. And look who he's recognizing coming off the field. You're my man. Attaboy, Chris Clark. You keep doing your job, and you're going to be out on the field playing for me.
Nice look, guys. Our director, Mike Schwab, producer, Phil Orland, rest of our crew. A chance to see Spurrier acknowledges receiver there as Moffitt scoots out of bounds for a gain of 4 with Lowry closing down on him fast. Savell Newton was a receiver, comes back to quarterback. He's been one of those very common stories in college football. Players who have to move positions because of a numbers game or they fit a different system better. And Newton has been very proactive about accepting that situation and his responsibility for other off-the-field mistakes here in the offseason to put himself in a position to lead South Carolina. What a strange-looking defense that was as you get a couple-yard carry out to the 26-yard line. That wasn't really a down lineman set up on that play. That's what South Carolina does defensively.
Seen Southern Miss do this over the years. Arkansas last year with Dave Womack, who's now an assistant coach for South Carolina. You think to yourself, why are they all standing up as defensive linemen? It doesn't make any sense. There's 2 reasons that John Thompson, the defensive coordinator, told us that they do that. Number 1, just play with the quarterback a little bit, give him a different look. Second thing is, our players like it. Let them have some fun, mix it up as just a different wrinkle.
And you never know who's coming. The throw is caught by Marshall for a first down out to the 38-yard line. I mean, does it seem, for a quarterback's perspective, as tough as it seems when you watch a game, you see guys standing, guys with their hand, who's coming? You have no idea what's going on.
If you've prepared well enough throughout the week, then it's okay. Your computer's fine.
The Steve Spurrier return to college football has led to 24-3 South Carolina. His quarterback, Blake Mitchell, 319 yards, 3 touchdown tosses to 3 different receivers. Central Florida has kind of stumbled its way through missed opportunities in the second and third quarter. A spectacular Spider-Man haul-in grab by Brandon Marshall in front of Mike West there. Takes UCF out to the 48-yard line, a first down.
If you're a quarterback, Mike, getting back to your question, preparing for a game, your offensive coordinator, quarterback coach, you look at so many different looks. Most quarterback coaches and offensive coordinators say, you know what, don't worry about if they're standing, if they're moving. Eventually, they got to get back to where they need to be lined up. And going on a quick count a lot of times will alleviate some of the craziness that South Carolina likes to do. And there they go again.
There you go. No hands on the ground, and Moffitt ends up on the ground. Cody Wells out of Bellevue, Florida.
The other thing that I thought was interesting South Carolina's doing is they have a combination of playing a 3-4 defense and a 4-3. Now that might sound, you might think, who cares, what's the difference? But for an offensive line, when you have to, one time you break the huddle and you're looking at a certain front, and the very next snap you come up to the huddle and they're in a different front. Sometimes there's confusion with who's blitzing and who's not, and that's what they're trying to accomplish for South Carolina.
Second and 11, here comes the blitz. Moffitt hangs in and completes it to Mike Walker. A couple of yards shy of the first down. We'll have 3rd and 2 coming up. Jonathan Joseph there on the coverage. You mentioned the wishbone before. Can you go back and explain that? Why do you talk about this defense and the wishbone in the same breath?
Well, you could say not only the wishbone, the spread offense maybe 5 or 10 years ago. Anything that the defense or an offense has to prepare for, it's a little bit different from what you see week in and week out. You only have 3 or 4 days to get ready for it. When you have an unconventional defense, sometimes it's tough to prep for during the week.
3rd and 2. Moffitt, short throw, caught by Mike Walker. I'll tell you, Kirk, Mike Walker, Brandon Marshall, and Steve Moffitt could end up having a good season in Conference USA. It's a good pass-catch combination.
Include Darcy Johnson, 6'5",
right.
255-pound tight end who's explosive. They've got a nice nucleus, a nice group of receivers. The fact that they're down 24-3, Moffitt may not be the prettiest thrower right now at this point in his career, but right now he's effective and he's moving the ball down the field. They just have to execute once they get into South Carolina territory.
From the 32, steady diet of throws, tries to elude the blitz, and finally the pack gets to him. Lance Lowry with the sack. Big first down loss. Here's Matt Weiner with an update. Matt.
Mike Vanderbilt and Wake Forest coming down to the wire on ESPNU. But the story of this game is sophomore Micah Andrews filling in for the suspended Chris Barkley, filling in nicely. 254 yards and counting, and his team on top by 3. Less than 3 to go in the fourth.
Wake Forest was down in that game majority of the way. We're going to see Wake on a Thursday night in November hosting Miami. You get a chance to go to Winston-Salem. 2nd and 19. Moffitt with time. Oh, it should have been picked, but was caught by Mike Walker. Jonathan Joseph saw all these white stripes amongst the green grass. I'm going out. I need the ball.
Every corner in the country dreams about taking a chance, jumping on an outcut, and being right in position for an interception, right through his hands. Good concentration by Walker to come back and make the catch. But Joseph, oh my gosh, he is gone. Probably the fastest guy on their team. Yeah. He makes that interception. He's off to the races.
By the way, Moffitt's 10 for 10 throwing in the quarter. A little asterisk with the 10th. Pressure, look out from the side. Is it incomplete or recovered? I thought it was going to be a live ball and a fumble. It had not hit the ground. Don't call it an incomplete pass. It's Fred Bennett with the corner blitz from the blind side coming to get there.
I don't think the referee or the officials were real sure what to call.
That smelled like a fumble from the start, didn't it?
It did. Let's get another look at it. Bennett's coming from the backside. It's one of those kind of a gray area where you could make an argument. Even in slow motion, we're sitting here looking at almost every time you see a quarterback come back with his arm, the referee's going to call it an incompletion.
A timeout has been taken by Central Florida here with 1:52 left in the third quarter, and it's 24-3. Well, back to school always meant, get some pencils, make sure you have the dictionary, encyclopedia all polished up in the pre-internet days. Well, back on campus for college football, how about this for your school supplies? The ESPN College Football Encyclopedia. The biggest, richest reference guide ever published on the history of the game. All 119 Division I programs, the stat leaders, the profiles, the fight song lyrics, everything. The Ivy Leagues as well, the predominantly historically black colleges, all these records dating back to 1869. ESPN College Football Encyclopedia. If there's somebody in your life who loves college football, get this for them. They'll love you back, I promise you.
Make sure you get it, and I think the first part of the book that I turned to, the helmets. I couldn't believe how many different helmets certain teams had, and other teams have had the same helmet for 50 or 60 years, but they did a great job of breaking down the different designs and how it's changed throughout the year.
Can I tell the story on you? We all get together down in Orlando at Disney to get set for the college football season. Our colleagues from ABC and our Disney family and all of us at ESPN, and I'm sitting with Herbie, and we see this college football encyclopedia, and we stopped listening to we're looking through the helmet section. Look at this helmet Ohio State wore. Did you know about this helmet?
I couldn't believe it. It was a red helmet.
It is really
going back to the 50s.
Yeah, if you love college football, the helmet set, it's a great book, so pick it up. All right, out of the timeout, 4th and 13. They'll go for it from the 35. Moffitt moves to have time to throw, and it is incomplete. South Carolina will take over. Pass intended for Walker. So there again, Kirk, exactly what you were talking about. Scoring opportunities in a scoring area, not necessarily the red zone. Nothing to show for it for UCF. South Carolina back on the field when you come back. South Carolina offense back on the field, leading 24-3. Of course, so much hype over a game with two teams that won a total of 6 games last year. Central Florida 0-11, South Carolina 6-5, but the return of Steve Spurrier to college football certainly heightening the importance of tonight's game. Quarterback Mitchell on the run, takes it to the 39-yard line. Oh, we're talking about the ball coach. How about Mrs. Ball Coach? His wife,
That's
Jerry.
right, Mike. With Steve Spurrier back in the SEC, that means the First Lady of the SEC is back, and he tried to play it cool tonight and say he didn't want the night to be about him. You know him better than anyone. What are his thoughts about being back?
Oh, he's very excited. I haven't seen him this excited in a very, very long time, and it's just fun to be here.
You know him better than anyone, Mrs. Spurrier. What was he like away from football?
Not much fun. Not much fun. When your golf game doesn't improve, it's not much fun.
I actually read today, and I want to get this in the newspaper today, he has laid off, as we know, throwing the visor, but I actually read you like it. Why is that?
I do. I don't know. I like the emotion. I like to see the emotion. I think that's what the players sense. I do. I didn't know that was in the paper today. I didn't read it yet.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Yeah, so guys, the Gamecocks will get to see a lot of that throwing the visor. Of course, they hope they don't. Back to you.
Right there, Aaron, as Antonio Hefner came in at quarterback, couldn't handle it, and Central Florida takes over in South Carolina territory.
He might get a shot at the visor right here. We'll have to stay close on that.
So the first South Carolina turnover gives Central Florida the ball at the 37-yard line. You bring the other quarterback in with his offense and his package. Turn it over.
Well, UCF has had the opportunities, Mike, we just touched on it. 3 different times they've had an opportunity to try to come away with some points and have not been able to do that. Let's see what happens here as they get a big turnover here to try to stay in this football game.
They played a good third quarter, except the plays that really would have changed the tenor of the game. Stephen Moffitt trying to make something happen. Got rid of it. He was down. That should be a sack back at the 45. And I believe that's what they're going to call Chris Tucker, Marquis Hall. With the pressure. Oh, they're going to say he got away and incomplete. Wow, that's a break. It saves him 7 yards. It'll be second down. Well, his knee was down when he threw it.
It was close, but I think he may have gotten rid of it before his left knee touched. Let's see.
Yep.
Pretty close. I think he did. And he pretty good decision there just to get rid of it. And he also had a receiver, an intended receiver, in the area.
Well officiated game. Thomas Ritter's crew has done a nice job here tonight. Big hit by Brandon Marshall, who tried to elude the Jonathan Joseph first tackle. But cleanup on aisle 5 came from Dustin Lindsay and Mike West. And that will bring us to the end of quarter number 3. Only touchdown of the quarter scored by South Carolina. They've thrown for 319 yards. On a night anticipated for months, 82,753 in Williams-Brice. Happy the home guys are up 21 as we go to quarter 4. Off we go to the fourth quarter in college football prime time, presented by Cooper Tires. Mike Tirico, Kirk Herbstreit, Aaron Andrews. Glad to have you with us in Columbia. South Carolina leads Central Florida 24-3. South Carolina goes to Georgia. Game on ESPN next Saturday. The quarter starts with Moffitt on the run. Again, the ball comes out as he's sacked. Now let's see what happens. Stanley Doty came up with the hit to shake it loose, but UCF has recovered.
I like the athletic ability of Doty, but just look at the defensive line. Doty's the only guy up front. Nobody's down. They're giving a bunch of different looks to this UCF offense in the Moffitt, and by the time the ball snapped, they're coming from different angles, especially from the outside. They brought Coley, the defensive end, out wide, and Bennett as a corner on a blitz, but they didn't show that until the ball was snapped. UCF confused up front.
4th and 15. Time for an Aaron Horn punt. That I thought was fair caught, but goes right into the arms of UCF for what should be, well, they're going to call it a touchdown, but it should be a muff, and UCF ball back at the 17. In almost every situation, that becomes a muff and not a touchdown right away. UCF will have it at the 17. A bizarre play there.
The receiver muffed the ball into the hands of the kicker. The kicker cannot advance because it was a muff. It'll be Central Florida's ball,
okay.
First down.
Can I ask you a quick question, partner?
Yes, sir, sir.
Now, do you have the PGA book down the way college football in the NBA? I mean, that's the one thing that's great about doing games with you is when it comes to a rule, you got it. The muff here, huh? Can't advance the muff.
Yep.
All right.
And right into the waiting line. That's a mistake when you have Jonathan Joseph back as your punt return guy who you need to be dependable. You cannot let that happen. And obviously, Renford Parks was right there to take it and go the distance. But
here they go again, down in the red zone. Can they execute to try to get points?
Score, you still got a game here, right? Run up the middle quickly with Jason Peters, who takes it to the 13-yard line.
College football, more so than any other game, a game of emotion and players, individual players, offensive side, defensive side. South Carolina, they look that first play, they looked like a different defense coming onto the just even running onto the field compared to the one that ran off the play before.
UCF can teach itself a lesson about what they have inside. Look at that hit. Pads popping as that South Carolina defense responds on the second play, a marker down on the hit. And it may have been Ricardo Hurley or Mike West first. I'm not sure, but that was the response to exactly what you saw in that first play.
And when you run up the middle, you know you're going to get hit. The backs here from UCF have been taking a pounding when they have decided to cut up underneath. The safeties and linebackers from UCF, or from South Carolina rather, blowing up Dontavius Wilcox and Kevin Smith.
Penalty declined by South Carolina, so it's 3rd and 6.
Interesting, declining this and putting him in a third down. Let's see all the different looks that John Thompson and Tyrone Nix can come up with as defensive coordinators. What are they going to come up with here to get pressure on Moffitt?
Brooks Turner comes in the game as a third wide receiver. Has a little time to throw it, and it is caught for the touchdown by Mike Walker. So the muff punt is completed to add insult to it right in front of Jonathan Joseph, who mishandled it, and UCF back in it, 24-9, and the Visors getting a workout. The few who traveled from Orlando with some cheers for Walker, who had 1 touchdown last year, started 6 games at cornerback, actually had a couple of interceptions against Penn State in UCF's visit to Happy Valley. John Brown comes on to add the extra point. A little kicker change there.
Well, one-on-one coverage here, and Walker's able to make the big play and beat Joseph to the end zone for a big touchdown. 14 points in the fourth quarter. Let's see if UCF can get the ball back.
Well, we said right at the very beginning, many people thought Central Florida would be sacrificial lamb here tonight. They got a little lion in them. They were down 14-0. They have hung in there, have come back with a better second half. South Carolina had the one good drive, but making the most of a second Gamecock fumble in a minute 17. Now a 24-10 game. Returned by Savell Newton. Well covered, a long field. They've covered kickoffs well tonight. Let's go back to that touchdown, and Kirk will show you how it happened.
Well, you knew South Carolina on 3rd and long would bring some type of blitz action, and that's what they were doing. Up front, nice stem. They brought the heat from the outside. Give UCF credit for picking up and giving the quarterback Moffitt just enough time. But Joseph, boy, I'll tell you, this year he better do a better job in the SEC than he did against Mike Walker there, getting a hand initially at the line of scrimmage. Walker was uncontested, went into the inside, broke to the outside, and the ball was perfectly thrown over his shoulder. But Jonathan Joseph needs to do a better job in man pressure of getting a little bit more toughness and being more physical at the line of scrimmage.
Blake Mitchell back in for South Carolina. They haven't run it well. Mitchell's hit and sacked back at the 1-yard line. So the pressure up the middle from Frisner Nelson out of Fort Myers, Florida. He came right up the middle, and Mitchell had to eat it because of good coverage. And the Gamecocks, who can't run the ball tonight, are backed up in the shadow of their own goalpost.
And all of a sudden, you could see that this UCF defense, I mean, think about this. If you're Blake Mitchell and you're pinned back here, not only a safety, but how fortunate is he that Nelson didn't hit him hard enough to knock the ball loose. Now it's another turnover and another quick score for UCF.
2nd and 20, back from their own 2. Have to run it out of here, and Davis has nowhere to go again. Travis Barr, true freshman, out of Duluth, Georgia, an all-stater in Georgia. But one thing George O'Leary is going to be able to do with his team here in Orlando is go back to Atlanta and recruit some of that good talent. All of a sudden, a little murmuring, getting quiet here in Williams-Brice Stadium.
Well, the battle up front right now being dominated by UCF. And you could really say that for the entire second half. UCF is doing a great job with their defensive line against the South Carolina offensive line.
3rd and 20, interesting play call here. It is a throw to Savell Newton to the 10-yard line, and will be stopped well short, and a 3-and-out in very quick order. We'll get the ball back to Central Florida as we get towards 11 minutes. And attaboy to Lance Thompson, the defensive coordinator, and his group. Lance told us this week the price for success is paid in advance. And in the offseason this year, his guys paid for it in advance, and they're where everybody works out. But these guys were 0-11. They had zero confidence. They built it as a unit together, and some of it's manifesting here in this second half. Josh Brown rugby punted it away last time out of this spread formation. So again, these are so hard to return when you can execute them properly. And it will be UCF ball in very good field position at its own 45. College football Saturday. It'll be a big doubleheader as part of our huge 31-game slate on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU, and ABC this weekend. Boise State and Georgia, Georgia Tech and Auburn. So if you're an SEC fan, just settle back in and put on ESPN about 5:30, and we'll see you at midnight.
If you're a Georgia fan, don't thumb your nose at Dan Hawkins' team in Boise State. They'll come into that game in Athens expecting to win. And Georgia Tech, two great defenses in Georgia Tech and Auburn. That'll be exciting to watch.
Stephen Moffitt swings it out. Here's Jason Peters cut down in the open field. Jonathan Joseph makes the tackle there. No game.
I thought it was also good to hear George O'Leary say, I know that we had a tough year last year with a lot of new players, a lot of young players, but we instilled an attitude that effort is expected and you have to finish the game. And he said when he looked back and studied the tapes, one thing he was most happy about is his team kept fighting and kept competing. And the ones that didn't continue to play. We've seen that tonight, and so far it's keeping in this football game.
Terrific numbers for Moffitt, who has time but coverage downfield and try to make something out of this second down play and get to the 49-yard line. You know, we take the basic for granted sometimes. The University of Central Florida is in Orlando. They were a small, relatively small school a few years ago, 10,000 students. They've jumped up to 44,000. Only the University of Florida is a larger Division I school, or college for that matter, in the state of Florida. They've built a 120-yard indoor facility. They're one vote, which should be easy, away from getting an on-campus stadium in a couple of years. The university is huge and is growing, so this is a program that you would bet to hear more of on a big college football scale down the line. 3rd and 6 here. The pressure comes. It's caught. An open field tackle by Joseph will stop UCF 3 yards shy of the first down. Brandon Marshall made the catch. He's been busy tonight. Might go for it here on 4th and 3.
I think, Mike, you almost have to. Getting underneath, we're underneath 9 minutes now, down 2 touchdowns. This is one of the things that becomes difficult for Moffitt. He's just trying to get rid of the football, but look, you have one defender covering 2 guys right here. The defender came up and made a good play. But boy, if he could have just taken just another split second, that's a big play downfield.
4th and 3. Moffitt throwing, it's caught, and the first down is picked up by Brandon Marshall. You know, that play can work so often if you can get the right guy and do the right job of identification. And they did. UCF keeps the drive alive with 8:16 to go.
You just saw George O'Leary give the hand signal like, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Steve Spurrier's not real happy, but George O'Leary's telling his quarterback, Moffitt, let's go. We don't have time to look around and wait for the play. We're not only battling South Carolina, and we're fighting the clock right now.
9th catch, Kirk, from Marshall, who had 8 all of last year because he was pressed into roles as a defensive back. Moffitt, dangerous decision there as he was about to be hit. The pass incomplete. Matt Weiner has the Sports Center 30 and 30 back in Bristol.
All right, Mike, tough afternoon for the New York Yankees. Jared Wright struck by a line drive. It hit his right side of his neck and right collarbone. X-rays are negative, but Wright, who just off the disabled list a couple weeks ago, did leave the game. Yankees lose 5-1. Red Sox win thanks to 2 homers and 6 runs batted in for John Olerud. So the lead in the AL East is now 3.5 games. Details on the pennant races in the first night of college football coming up on SportsCenter after the game, and of course on ESPN News right now.
Thanks, Matty. Seen a little bit. 2nd and 10. 15 of 18 in the half is Moffitt, who throws, and it's caught. A spectacular catch by Mike Walker. He went up into the double coverage, and he was the better athlete. At 6'2", he pulled it down. First down.
Mike, Stephen Moffitt has struggled tonight with the deep ball and the timing of it and how much of a football he wants to put where you put enough air under it. This time, Joseph is not confused at all. He's right there, but Walker, 6'2", is able to go up and over top of Joseph, who's much smaller, and Mike Walker timed his leap perfectly to high point the ball over Joseph.
5'11", had that size advantage. Walker 8 grabs for 92 yards. In the red zone, they run with Kevin Smith, the true freshman, who keeps going to the 11-yard line. Pickup of 5 halfway through the 4th. UCF a couple of plays away from really getting sweaty palms in here.
I don't know how this game's going to finish, but George O'Leary at the very least has some videotape to show his team about what it takes as far as fighting and not giving up in a football game. Down 14-0 before we could settle into our seat. Now look at this. Look where we are, 24-10 at 7 minutes, getting close to the 10-yard line.
Gain of about a yard for Smith. Aaron Andrews.
Guys, you mentioned how George O'Leary was telling his team, come on, let's move it, let's move it. That's what his team told us the biggest improvement has been. It's the high tempo. Everything is so fast-paced. One of the players was saying even the weightlifting, some of the players got sick because they couldn't handle it. Even the breaks, they get out there a lot quicker now. They even showed up 15 minutes early for our meetings.
Different mentality in year 2 with George O'Leary.
First huge play of the night. 3rd and 4. Moffitt, everything's covered. Can he make something happen? Run out of bounds at the 11. It's a 14-point game, so you go for it here on 4th down. Field goal does you almost nothing.
You have to go for it. And also, when you're a quarterback and you get to the outside, the receivers have to help you. They've got to move around in the back of the end zone. That time, both his receivers were in the end zone, and they're putting themselves right where the defenders were. They have to help Moffitt out. A little bit of a surprising call here by UCF.
John Brown, the senior, comes on. I mentioned earlier that Prater was kicking, but after he missed that field goal in the 3rd quarter, we've gone to Brown, the senior, who will try this one from 29. It's a 24-13 game, so now you need a field goal, touchdown, and 2-point conversion. You'll still need to score twice. 11-point game. 6:05 to go.
ESPN's College Football Primetime is presented by Cooper Tire's Ultimate Bowl Tour. Go to a Cooper dealer near you or visit ultimatebowltour.com to enter. And in part by Hummer. Check out the new H3. Hummer, like nothing else.
24-13, George O'Leary chooses to go for a field goal there. Kirk, he didn't like that.
Well, I think it's just showing confidence in your defense. He thinks he's going to get the ball right back. But with 6 minutes to go in the game, I'm somewhat surprised that he didn't take a shot and try to get the first down and try to get the ball into the end zone here. Again, only because of the time in the game, 6 minutes. You don't know if you're going to get the ball back 2 more times.
Savell Newton, oh, he almost lost it. He did lose it. It's a fumble. UCF says they have it. Waiting for the official signal. O'Leary will look like a genius now. Watch this.
Oh, yeah.
UCF ball. Wow. 3rd South Carolina turnover in the half.
See, I didn't get my itinerary. I didn't get my rundown from Coach O'Leary. I didn't realize that was part of the plan here. You're going to get a fumble, get the ball back, and now the thing is, does he get into that same position and go for the field goal to get within 8, or does he try to get the touchdown here?
Newton, who was the kick returner, is hurt. Steve Spurrier and the medical staff out there. Jordan Richards made the hit. And it was recovered by Jeff Branham. Checking on Newton. This is reviewable if it is in question.
Well, I think the ground causes the fumble, but because he didn't have control of the ball, he didn't quite have control of the football.
The ball's on the way out.
Yeah, and it's
to me.
But the ground, once he touches the ground,
right.
The ground actually creates the ball to come out. Right there. Do you consider that possession? Once he hits the ground is when the ball came loose. That's a
really,
well, you've got
that's
the rule.
a really,
Pull
really,
that
really
one
tough
up.
call. That's
pull the manual out.
That's, taking a peek up there. What are you guys laughing at us for? You got to make the decision up there. Again, replay in the SEC this year. It was in the Big Ten last year only. It will be in most of the conferences in college football this year, save for 2.
Well, the ground definitely created the fumble. It's just a matter of if the possession of the football is lost once you lose the control of the football without actually losing it out of your hands. Like right there, to me, the ball's loose. He doesn't possess it, but it's not out. Once he hits the ground, of course, UCF recovers it.
Spurrier's immediate reaction, and then obviously the concern for Savell Newton as the training staff continues to look at him after he was hit at the 20-yard line. And, everyone out there to make sure that Newton is receiving the proper and the most precautious medical attention. They're going to bring out the golf cart with the stretcher on it to take Newton off. You can see Newton motioning with his hands to, as we've seen so often, if there's any concern, they take all the precautions. So we'll step out for a second as they continue to look at Savell Newton.
When
well, there's the best sign we can show you. Savell Newton not needing the cart to be taken off the field. He's being walked off and obviously very gingerly being moved. So they looked at the play and it remains UCF ball. So what a turn of events. UCF takes over at the South Carolina 20, down 11, and they run it right up the gut on first down and gain 5 yards with Jason Peters. Inside of 6 minutes, 24-13 to score. Aaron?
Mike just talked to the South Carolina training staff. They said the good news, Savell Newton never lost consciousness out there. They wanted to take, like you said, all the proper precautions going inside the locker room for further testing.
Thank you, Aaron. So as they check on Newton, the South Carolina offense, again, has been short-circuited here in this second half. And now it's up to the defense for South Carolina to stop UCF. 2nd and 5. Jason Peters. What a power game here. This is kind of the football we've seen from George O'Leary over the years. Matt Weiner with an update before 3rd and 2.
Mike, second half of our doubleheader on ESPN2 is Minnesota at Tulsa. Gophers got started without us. Lawrence Maroney figures to have a huge season without sharing carries with Marion Barber III this year, and he's got a 67-yard run to start his season. Gophers 7-0.
We'll see many more, that's for sure, Matt.
Mike, you talked about this is George O'Leary style offense. This half, UCF has had the ball for 20 minutes to South Carolina, just 5 minutes in the second half.
3rd and a long yard. Again, it is Peters. First down across the 10 and to the 9-yard line. Antonio Eldemeyer, a fullback who's from Nassau Community College, and we told you George is a New Yorker from Long Island. He has come in, a tight end / fullback, and really blocked well this drive.
Great block up front and tough running by Jason Peters, who's kind of an ultra back. He can play fullback. He can also dot the I. I love the fact that you look at Kevin Smith as a true freshman, 6'1", about 195 pounds, and Jason Peters, 6'1", 230. They've got 2 physical backs that fit this system well.
Fred Bennett, the corner, is out. So bottom of your screen, or to your right now, a new corner in the game. Here is Moffitt looking that way, throwing, and it's down to the 4-yard line with the big tight end, Darcy Johnson. Ricardo Hurley the stop. Inside of 4 minutes, UCF trying to make it a 4-point game.
This is where Moffitt has to show some maturity. He played a lot last year as a quarterback. He's been down before. He's led some potential comebacks last year. They've got to be able to not only execute their offense, but be able to get in and out of the huddle and salvage as much time as they can while they try to get closer into this game.
You're seeing the faces of a lot of people who called the call-in show since at 35-3. Peters runs it and is stopped by the defensive line. We'll have 3rd down coming up, and UCF needs to do a couple of things. One, they need more tempo here because time is not their friend, and they need to be thinking if they score, they must go for 2 because they would be down 5. And they also need a field goal at some point, so if they don't score here.
If he doesn't score, he has the same decision that he had to make last time, where he opted to go for the field goal and caught the break with a fumble on the kickoff. It'll be interesting here. If they're not able to get the ball into the end zone, what will George O'Leary do?
3rd and goal.
I'd roll Moffitt out here with the option to run or throw.
True freshman Kevin Smith, the back with him. They option to Smith. He makes a move down by the goal line, and he's stopped at the 2. Really closer to the 1-yard line. 2:48 to go. Boy, and you want to take your time making your decision, but you got to make it quick here.
Interesting call by Tim Salem, the offensive coordinator, to go with the option. Go with the option call against man coverage. Moffitt didn't necessarily attack the line of scrimmage, but he did enough to give Peters the ball or Smith the ball to get him upfield and get this very, very interesting. Let's play the game.
They say he couldn't decide if he wanted to take the timeout and talk about it, figure it out, keeping it on the field. 4th and goal. Smith tries to go over the top and is stopped. Stopped shy on 4th and goal. South Carolina will take over as Lance Lowry, Ricardo Hurley, and the rest of the crew just never move the line of scrimmage.
Like going over the top with a big back like that from a 1.5 yards or 2 yards out is such a tough. First, the exchange wasn't the greatest, but asking Smith to go almost 3 yards, and not only that, you need about a 40-inch vertical to get over top of the pile of offensive linemen and defensive linemen. If you're going to go up to Meadow, you'd like to see him either rip it in there. Maybe that's what George O'Leary got upset with his true freshman, Kevin Smith. Maybe that's what he wanted. Ram it in there the way we've been doing it all night. Don't jump from 3 yards.
It was a bizarre set of circumstances because there were so many decisions to make. Look at the play clock, by the way, as South Carolina is going to have to take a timeout, I would guess here. Hang on. Oh, boy, what a break. They're coming out with 1 second left, 2 seconds left. The ball wasn't on the hash, and the clock gets stopped to reset the play clock. Oh, my goodness.
But getting back to your point about George O'Leary, a lot of decisions there. We're talking about the first game of the year.
Yep.
They're trying to execute this offense, get back in the game. Should we call timeout? Should we not? I don't care what you do during 2 days. You can't prepare for those kind of situations.
1st and 10 from the 2. South Carolina hasn't run it well, hasn't run it effectively. Just a keeper by the quarterback to take it out to the 4-yard line, Blake Mitchell. UCF has 2 timeouts remaining. They'll take one here with 2:01 to go.
Well, one of the things that we heard Lee Corso and I think some of the others talk about was the inability of South Carolina to run and how they're going to have to be able to run as they get into this game. I agree with that. I said, who cares? Keep throwing with Blake Mitchell. But as you continue the rest of this year, being able to run the football. His 2 best years at Florida in 95 and 96 when he got to the national championship game were the 2 best years that he ever ran the football. They're going to have to develop that as the season goes on.
Well, Central Florida fans watching everywhere, excited in one particular. For more on that, our Applebee's hometown hero. Let's check in with Erin Andrews. Erin?
An absolutely moving story. It has to do with UCF's manager who is not here. He is a sophomore. His name is Brian Green. Right now he is undergoing treatment for inoperable intestinal cancer, guys. This kid is absolutely a fighter. He's already gone through melanoma and had to have a cancerous tumor removed from his lungs. The managers on the UCF staff are wearing green bracelets saying impossible is nothing, and obviously our thoughts and prayers go out to him. He is a hero indeed.
He was at one practice earlier this year, back to Houston for more treatments, and obviously a lot of heavy hearts on this UCF side, not just with Brian Green, the manager, but as we told you earlier, the story that's affecting everything that you come across in the world, the hurricane in the New Orleans, Louisiana, Alabama area, and Mississippi as well. Javid James, receiver who's not played for UCF. His sister has not been located since she traveled back to her hometown of New Orleans. It's his 2nd and 9, a run in the middle with the freshman back who made a dangerous spin by his own goal line, but Davis is able to take it out to the 5-yard line. UCF using its final timeout with 1:51 remaining. They're out, as you see. We gave you the phone number earlier for Javid James for his sister. Any chance if you, for some reason, have come across somebody who's seen Tahiri, his sister, his 18-year-old sister, UCF Sports Information Department, that's their phone number, 407-823-5349. And we keep the James family in our prayers after we leave here. You know, there's so much going on right in this new conference for UCF, Conference USA. Tulane and Southern Miss are the 2 Division 1A schools so impacted by the Katrina catastrophic damage. Tulane, it's unlikely they're going to have classes. I talked to the commissioner of Conference USA, Britton Banowski, earlier tonight. Very unlikely they're going to have a semester down there. I know schools, I talked to somebody up in Syracuse, I know they're taking in students. The whole Federation of Accredited Universities around the country taking in Tulane students, trying to help them get their classes. From a football standpoint, SMU has welcomed Tulane to its football home in Dallas. The Tulane players are there. They went to the Cowboys game tonight. they have a home. Every athlete at Tulane and Southern Miss has been accounted for, and the other schools in this conference are pitching in and helping out. Really, some of the stories of reaching out that we're going to hear over the next few months. Big third down play. It is a run by Davis. He is stopped. UCF powerless to stop the clock, as we'll dive under 100 seconds. Certainly there'll be more of the sports impact of Katrina on SportsCenter following our game. In addition to that, the Saints return to the field. Steve McNair and Brett Favre, and more from Columbia here on this Steve Spurrier debut. It'll be Stu Scott and Neil Everett on SportsCenter coming up at 11. Hey, Jim Donan's here, our colleague working on ESPN.com. He talked to Chris Selfo, the Tulane head coach. Chris said of his administration and staff, 9 of the 11 involved have lost their houses. They've got nothing there, and they're still trying to keep these kids and a football team going. So while it's really, South Carolina's defense doesn't look good here. They've run the ball for 40 yards. And it doesn't really matter in the world. It's been a diversion for a couple of hours for all of us tonight, but don't think it's not on everyone's mind as South Carolina takes this delay flag and they'll back up their punt by a yard.
I know you have friends down there. I have friends down there. We've tried to touch base, in some small way. You try to reach out to these people, and a lot of the people that you and I have tried to call, you
couldn't get through.
You're getting a busy signal, or you just, as you said, you hope and you pray for these families and for the people affected by this devastating storm.
10 on the line. Central Florida went offside as USC takes the safety to make it 24-15. This is interesting. Would you take the 5-yard penalty here, or decline the penalty and take the safety?
Well, it's about seconds now.
Right.
You decline if you have the option, decline it, take the safety. But the one thing I want to say, we have a minute to go, and UCF is fighting like crazy. George O'Leary still doesn't have a win as a head coach at UCF. But watching this team tonight,
they'll win.
They're not only going to win a couple games, they're in a new conference. If he can keep them together and use the tape from this game to show them what they did well, I'm going to be very interested to see the growth of this program this year with George O'Leary and with some of the players and the athleticism. This is a different looking team this year compared to what we saw last year with UCF. If you have UCF on your schedule, you better get ready for a talented team that's going to fight you for 4 quarters.
Let's see the administration of this. They're going to take the flag, the 5 yards, and we'll see if they punt or if they run back in the end zone again and take the safety.
On the nose guard, 5-yard penalty, replace it, 4th down.
This could be one of those games where, it's mid to late October, early November. All of a sudden you see UCF is having an interesting year. I'm with you. I hope they're able to keep the faith.
Take the safety again or punt? No, they will take the safety again. Able, as you said, Kirk, to use another 5 seconds or 4 seconds off the clock to make it 24-15.
Well, we all wondered how Blake Mitchell would perform, in the new offense. He had a heck of a night tonight, especially early in the game, putting up some big numbers.
And he is our Wrangler player of the game. 330 passing yards and 3 touchdowns at the 270 mark in the first half, but very few offensive plays for South Carolina here in this second half as cutting Mitchell's numbers down and really taking some of the feel good from South Carolina fans' perspective out of what happened here tonight.
I think South Carolina was guilty of, often you see teams that are really emotional and really fired up, and they come out of the gate firing, and they score a touchdown early, and then they get a turnover and they score another big touchdown, and we're 4 or 5 minutes into the game and it's 14-0. You're thinking, oh, they're on their way to 65, and they lose their fight. I think South Carolina may have had that happen to them in this football game. They were not the same team emotionally by midway through the second quarter as what we saw when they came out of the tunnel to the 2001 Space Odyssey, which was a great entrance.
Only 14 second half plays. UCF has outscored South Carolina with that safety 12-0. And now with a 9-point game, it will be a Josh Brown free kick, as you have after a safety, from the 20. The game is not over yet. UCF would need to score, recover an onside kick, make miracles happen here, but That's one thing you don't want to do. As a recoverable ball and goes out of bounds. It's a free kick, so it certainly could have been recovered, much like an onside kick, but it goes out at the 27-yard line. We mentioned UCF is in Conference USA, and they play Tulane and Southern Miss on their schedule. As we remind you, SportsCenter comes up next. Southern Miss has been displaced by the hurricane, and Tulane, as we mentioned. Tommy West and the staff at Memphis has welcomed Southern Miss into their football family, to the point they're sharing with a weight room. These are two teams in the same conference that are sharing weight rooms. They meet each other on November 19th, but the facilities, Memphis has opened its heart. The folks at SMU have opened their heart to Tulane. So we have a penalty here on this kick. He's going to take the ball out to midfield. I don't know if they called it because he kicked the ball. Did they call a personal foul? In any case, UCF is going to take the ball at midfield here. A 15-yard walk-off from where the ball went out of bounds. So in any case, UCF has it at midfield.
Pretty amazing to see teams within their own conference reaching out. That's great to hear. That's amazing.
I mean, very insignificant within what's going on with the hurricane, but I don't know if the football community's heard that story yet.
The whole conference seems like they're trying to rally together and help each other out.
All right, from midfield, they need a big play. Shoot it down the middle. It is caught to the 30-yard line by Brooks Turner, the 29. The clock stops. 48 seconds left. Still not over yet. 24-15. As soon as we're done, SportsCenter comes on. We'll have within SportsCenter the post-game interview, likely with Steve Spurrier. This game still in doubt for the moment.
No timeouts for Stephen Moffitt. He's got to get the football downfield.
To the sideline. It's caught out of bounds by Mike Walker at the 16-yard line.
Steve Spurrier typically doesn't get involved right now. Coach. He's talking about the coverage because he knows what it's like as an offensive coach to go against a prevent defense and how it's pitch and catch. When you're a quarterback and you're going up against a defense that's sitting way back, you see the jog?
We can't do that.
He came to jog. Coach, get those corners up. And there they are. The corners are up tight.
From the 16-yard line. With a four-man rush, Moffitt, the slant, is caught at the 5-yard line. That's first down yardage to stop the clock to Brandon Marshall, 32 seconds left. What a half for Moffitt. He's 20 of 23.
3 big plays, not only picking up yards, but also stopping the clock and giving Moffitt a chance to call the play, get everybody set up, take a chance in the end zone. Clock is ticking. Let's go, Moffitt.
Takes the shotgun snap. To the end zone, off a hand and dropped by Coe Simpson. West tried to scoop it at the end. Darcy Johnson had to make the big catch for Central Florida. He could not. Couple of bounces and nearly an interception. South Carolina that close to closing the deal. Coach Spurrier go for the visor the first time there?
I think we may have a visor throw for the first time being back in college football.
Let's watch Johnson, Darcy Johnson, the tight end.
Ball goes right through his hands, and boy, Coe Simpson last year, 6 interceptions, had one. There we go. There it is. It's official.
His wife,
she can't watch.
She's back in it now. From the 5, Moffitt's going to try to run it. You got to get there. If you do it, he doesn't. Now the clock's going to run. They won't snap it till about 11 seconds here at best. They're lucky they're down by the goal line. The receivers are close by. But this really ruins any chance of winning the game. Yep. By the time they snap it.
Had to score there. Had to score.
Could be the final play of the game here. 3rd and goal. Moffitt throws. It's incomplete. Clock says 0. No flag is down on that last play, although it looked like offside. And the game is over. So UCF goes inside South Carolina's 35 6 times in the second half. They only get 10 points to show for it, and Steve Spurrier wins his debut, although it felt better to South Carolina in the first half than the second. You'll hear from Spurrier on SportsCenter after the game. With Aaron Andrews, Kirk Herbstreit, our entire ESPN Thursday Night crew, Mike Tirico saying so long from Columbia. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Spurrier wins his debut by 9. You'll hear from him as off we go to SportsCenter.
All right, Neil and the Gamecock Nation, they have waited for quite some time for the debut of the head ball coach, and finally Steve Spurrier is in charge on the field of South Carolina. They took care of UCF, a game you just saw here a little bit ago. Glad to have you along. SportsCenter's 50 and 50 from the Palmetto State of South Carolina. Trev Alberts, Mark May, Lee Corso alongside. Guys, you know, this game was pretty much a microcosm of the history of South Carolina football. Great expectations, feeling like there's really a chance to be special, and then a little doubt by the end. Here comes the head ball coach as they played 2001. It's a great entrance here at Williams-Brice Stadium. George O'Leary leading Central Florida after an 0-11 campaign, and Blake Mitchell on the opening drive. Noah Whiteside, 5 plays, touchdown pass on the 5th play, just like Spurrier's first drive at Florida. 7-0 South Carolina when Mitchell sets up the screen to the freshman Mike Davis. Many believe he was the best running back prospect in South Carolina last year, and he shows why. Big Gainer set up a 1st and goal for the Gamecocks, and then Mitchell again going to Andy Boyd.
A great job right here by Mitchell, showing the poise to step in, finds the big tight end, barrels into the end zone. It's 14-0 South Carolina.
Mitchell, 7 for 7, 160 yards, 2 touchdowns on the first 2 drives. Take a look at Chris Clark and how he helped Boyd out there.
Do you think this is a pick? Just maybe just a little bit.
He was running his route to
yes, I'm sure he was.
They call that a rub-off.
That's right. Rubbed him.
Second quarter, 14-3, and here comes Mitchell again, and the cock and fire offense was working wonders. Travis Lee making the grab. That led to a Gamecock field goal. 17-3, and South Carolina appeared poised to pour it on. Savell Newton, who was the starting quarterback last year, had a big night at wide receiver. He takes it in for the score. Again, look at Chris Clark making a block.
Great job by Chris Clark there, just getting in front of the defender. Great block right there. Savell Newton into the end zone for a touchdown.
Spurrier celebrating a 24-3 lead, but UCF, despite having that 15-game losing streak, longest in the nation, comes roaring back on a 4th and goal attempt just over 2 minutes to go. UCF elected to try to go over the top. Mark, what did you think of the play call?
I didn't think it was a great call. I thought with a quarterback, you've got Moffitt, you can roll him out and make it a dual threat, either throw the ball or run the ball.
But as it was, Steve Spurrier's debut, a successful one. 24-15 is the final. And Blake Mitchell, the kid out of LaGrange, Georgia, completed 9 passes all of last year, throws for 330 yards. Only the long-haired wonder Steve Tannehill back in 1994 has thrown for more in a Gamecock season opener. So Steve Spurrier back in college football, back where we all believe he belongs, victorious for the Gamecocks in his first game. They'll have much tougher foes coming up when Georgia takes on the Gamecocks. But what do you take from Spurrier's debut?
Well, I think, first of all, I was watching this game, the first 2 drives, and I thought, oh, no. I mean, how are they going to live up to this? I mean, everybody's excited. You should have heard the fans in there. Oh, this is Steve Spurrier football. We just run right down the field. We score 14 points, and we go on and blow everybody out. But I think everybody, when you take a step back and look at the quarterback play of Blake Mitchell, that was the whole story to me. Early in the game, good and bad. Look here. Talk about a pass to the tight end. Nice job of mixing the ball around to all of his defenders. Sat in a packet nice, well, moved up, found Travis Lee right here. Beautiful throw away from the defender. And then we talked about these running backs, these freshmen race. Good night. Mike Davis here on the screen. Great speed on the outside. But then some of the not so good. Sitting back in the pocket, all kinds of time to throw. You've got to make this throw in Steve Spurrier's system. An overthrow here. Then again here to the outside. Against Georgia next week, Reese, that's picked off, and it's a pick 6 for the Georgia Bulldogs. Then once again right here, back to Pax at the quarterback, misses in an underthrow right here. Blake Mitchell, how do you say it's not a success? Had good, had bad. 330 yards passing and 3 touchdowns. I'm sorry, this is a nice effort out of this quarterback at South Carolina.
I thought it was a wonderful effort by the offense in the passing game. I thought they slacked off a little in the running game, but it's their defense that I question. Tyrone Nixon, John Thompson, their co-defensive coordinators, the way that Central Florida was able to move the ball on this defense, that's what I really looked at. I thought that they weren't as big as South Carolina up front. They gave them a lot of looks up front, but the way they were able to run the football, didn't get a lot of yards. They rushed for 80 yards in this football game, but what they were able to establish is move the ball in this defense. I thought the key was in the second half of this game, Stephen Moffitt, the quarterback from UCF, was 20 of 25. Against Georgia next week, when you're facing running backs like Craig Lumpkin, Thomas Brown, Danny Ware, and a quarterback like DJ Shockley that can move the ball around and create make plays. I think that's what's going to put a lot of pressure on the South Carolina defense, Coach.
Well, I know it was the opening game, but I was not impressed with South Carolina in the areas where they're going to have to win the SEC. They were very poor running the football, and they were lousy stopping the run. And those are two areas you better play well to play in South Carolina. If Steve Spurrier was not the coach of this team, they'd have lost this football game, because his gaming planning when he came out with those screens and those passes and those formations was the difference between this game. George O'Leary's team has lost now 16 in a row, but they won't lose many more this year. They found themselves a football team out here tonight, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't go to Tampa 2 weeks from now and beat South Florida. That's a good-looking football team under adverse position.
I tell you what, guys, you talked about on defense. I think a lot of John Thompson and Tyrone Nix, but this whole idea of defensive linemen standing up right at the line of scrimmage at about 250. You face the Georgia Bulldogs or Tennessee Volunteers with a big offensive line. They're going to stand up, and they're going to pound that defensive line. That's right. These guys are right. In the SEC play, can they withstand the physical nature of some of these top teams?
But Thompson has been around in the SEC before. He's been a defensive coordinator at Florida, head coach at East Carolina, so he has some experience in the league for sure. And Tyrone Nix has been at Southern Mississippi for quite some time. Still, there are some areas in which the head ball coach can build on. He is standing by with our Aaron Andrews.
All right, Coach, well, they made you sweat a bit tonight, but what did you learn about this new Gamecocks?
Well, we turned it over, but we were fortunate to win. I mean, Central Florida, I thought we could run it on them, but we couldn't budge them. It was a tough game, but we held in there and won the game, so we'll try to improve, get ready for Georgia next game.
In the second half, your defense did bend, but they didn't break. What adjustments do they need to make?
Well, we couldn't get them off the field. We couldn't get a turnover, but we held. Yeah, they had a lot of yards, and I think we had 10 plays the whole second half. So, and we couldn't stay out there. So we feel fortunate. Yeah, it wasn't real pretty, but we won the game.
Well, your wife told me she loves the visor throw, and we got it from you tonight.
Yeah, I threw one when we dropped the interception. But fortunately, it didn't cost us.
Welcome back. Congratulations.
Steve Spurrier, midseason form, showed the good wrist action on the visor throw. And once again, it's a successful debut for Spurrier, albeit, as the head ball coach said, not quite as pretty as perhaps the debut at Florida or even at Duke when they beat Colgate big 41-6. So, Trev, they often say the team makes its most improvement between a first and second game. How can it help Spurrier to have a game in which he was threatened at the end as opposed to it being a blowout the way it looked earlier?
I'm telling you what, I thought that the worst thing that could happen to South Carolina is what happened at the start of the game when they came out and started blowing them away 14 points and they're throwing the ball all over the place. If they would have won 50-0, all of a sudden the players think to themselves, we've got this thing figured out. We've got the Steve Spurrier offense. We've got a quarterback who threw for 330 yards. Steve Spurrier and this staff can look at their players now and say, young men, that will not get it done against Georgia. It won't get it done against Tennessee. It won't get it done against Florida. They have lots of work to do. But you know what? It's a good first start because there was some confidence displayed on offense that wasn't there in the last couple of years.
Forget about Georgia and Florida. It won't get it done against Vandy. It won't get it done against Kentucky.
Oh, come on.
This is a team. Plain and simple. This is a team that needs to learn how to finish football games. Plain and simple. What he can take out of this game, and he can tell his players, Coach, that this is how you finish games. You guys didn't finish games the right way. You need to learn that. This is a great example.
Steve Spurrier can't take one good thing out of this football game. If I was him, and I'd go back to that football team and look at him and say, you got a long way to go, sweethearts, because I tell you one thing, South Carolina is not a good football team right now. And I don't care what you say, you better win 50-0 than winning like that and not against a team that lost 16 straight games. You should win 50-0.
The Sunshine standing tall in the face of the rush. The Gamecock people not pleased. They are pleased with the outcome. 24-15. Back with more 50-50 to South Carolina in a bit, Neil.